Director of Athletics here at Wittenberg University, Director Brian Agler. First off, Mr. Agler, thank you so much for joining and coming on for this pregame talk real quick.
Thank you, Sam.
Obviously, last night, a first-time event, the Meet the Teams night here on Wittenberg's campus, where all the fall sports came together and were able to do something that they don't usually do, which is interact. With everyone being so busy, to be able to come in and kind of have a night to themselves where they're able to talk and socialize was a huge success to them. I was wondering if I could get your thoughts on the event as a whole.
Well, I thought there were a lot of positives out of last night. What you sort of analyzed was true. These teams that compete in the fall, they're so caught up into their classwork and focusing on their team that they don't get a chance to interact with some of the other fall sports that are going on. So that was a great thing. We had people from the community here. We had parents here. We had a nice band. Jacob Carlton did a great job. He's our new cheer coach, our spirit coach. And then it was nice for all the student athletes to get up and introduce themselves, talk about where they're from and those things. And then, of course, I know you interviewed Dr. Bob Cherry last night, but that was great to have him there. And we had a chance to tell his story a little bit. It's good for our student athletes to understand why people sort of look at Wittenberg as the standard bearer to college athletics, especially in this part of the country, and it's people like him.
Yes, no, absolutely. And then another incredible part about last night was getting all the coaches being able to come up and talk about their team. And one thing that everyone at Wittenberg can tell is we're competing at a very high level. Every team right now either pushing for, getting ready for an NCAC tournament or playoff bid with hopes of NCAA Division III playoff tournaments as well in their future. How are you feeling right now, especially on this wonderful day where beautiful outside, great football game about to take place, but also packed to the brim with volleyball, soccer, field hockey? How are you feeling about the direction of everything right now?
I like how we're doing. I mean, most of our teams have really positioned themselves well. You know, our football game here with Denison is a big one for us because, you know, we're at the top of the standings now in the conference, but we've got several tough opponents coming up, Denison being one of them, and so each game is very important that way. So this will be an important contest. You know, we haven't beat Denison in a few years, so I'm hopeful that we can compete well today. Volleyball at 3:30. Whoever wins this match, ourselves and Denison, you know, will win the regular season conference championship, and then we'll host the conference tournament. So that's a huge game for us today. You know, we had such a long string of consecutive conference wins that went over 10 years, and then you know, Denison got us last year in the regular season. So that's the last time we played Denison, and we went on to win the conference tournament. We've got field hockey here today at 4 o'clock versus Earlham. They need this win to stay in contention for a conference tournament berth. Top 4 teams go to the conference tournament at the end of the year. And same thing with our women's soccer. We play Worcester here, who we beat in the conference championship last year. And we need, you know, to have success to keep ourselves in contention to get a conference championship berth. So big day for us here on campus. We kicked it off last night with that nice Meet the Teams event, and hopefully that momentum will help carry us through today.
Well, absolutely, and I know you're excited to get out there, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I will send it over to Scott and the coach, and we will start this stream and get ready for Wittenberg football. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sam, and thank you to Tigers Director of Athletics Brian Agler joining us in the pregame show here today as we get ready for Wittenberg and Denison. And as those two talked about, a huge game in the NCAC with the Tigers sitting tied in the loss column atop the standings, and Wittenberg's trying to get to 5-1 in conference play. They've played one more conference game than the other teams that they're tied with, but that's because Week 10 will be a non-league game for Jim Collins' team this year. And Coach Scobie, as Sam and Brian Agler were talking about, it's been a very good fall sports season around campus, and this game gets the 12 noon kickoff because of some of the other activities that are taking place. And so it's an earlier start than maybe we're accustomed to around here, but a chance for Wittenberg to go out and get the first big win around the conference today.
Well, Scotty, one of the things that is so important is the fact that it is so true that as the fall starts at any campus, when you have winning football, you have winning volleyball, you have all your other sports winning, and people are excited about their team, good things happen. And so I think right now Wittenberg is just riding on campus the success of their sports programs. This game today is going to be a real challenge because as the Tigers come out of their football helmet, the Tiger Up helmet, and one of the things that we've seen already is that this is a Denison team that basically has been dominating the last couple years. Wittenberg trying to seek their first win since 2018. And in that year, it was a 4 overtime win, 68-66 at Denison. From 1990 to 2015, Witt had won 22 straight. So this game is so important for these Wittenberg Tigers to make a statement here in the NCAC.
Sam, great job in the interview. As Coach just said, the Tigers have lost the last 2 to Denison, 3 of the last 5, after a stretch that the coach remembers well, where Wittenberg had beaten Denison 22 straight times. So maybe a little bit of revenge on the mind of these returning Tigers here today.
Oh, no, absolutely. And especially for people that were here 3 years ago, actually, my sophomore year, where we opened the steamer up for the first time, and Denison came in here and beat us on the inaugural opening day of the steamer. That was one of the more exciting days Wittenberg's campus had over my 4 years, and to have that defeat come at the hands of a Big Red team who has gained a lot of confidence in this matchup over the last 4 years, you can tell that the shift of kind of power was happening within the NCAC. Denison was coming on really strong. DePaul last year, and we talked about it on the previous call, where it seems like these great quarterbacks are really giving about every team in the NCAC a chance at title contention when it comes to claiming the conference. This game no different, and I know Coach Collins definitely reminds his team constantly about that current losing streak to Denison.
Yeah, and guys, this is going to be a game. We always talk about offense, and we know both of these teams have great juggernaut offenses, but the key today will be which team can stop the other. Again, Wittenberg with the kick immediately. It's going to go into the zone and come back out. But
Tigers won the toss. Coach elected to defer, and as you said, the kick is a touchback, so we'll see the Denison offense first.
Well, and the thing, again, will come down to defenses today. Again, Wittenberg has done a super job in its last 2 games. They have held teams down. They have only allowed 7 points in both games. That has not happened in many, many years. So some good things happening. But today will be a real test for this defense.
We'll get a look at this Denison offense first here today. Drew Dawkins, the senior quarterback, 5'9", 175. Trey Fabricini will be in the backfield. DJ Johnson with Billy Guzzo and Josh Aiello as the receivers. Tigers with their 4-man front. Denison in the traveling white jersey tops today, and the Tigers in that familiar red, and the Tigers defense is ready for the first play from scrimmage as the Big Reds stay on the ground to start the game as Fabricini tries to go up the middle and gets maybe a yard. It'll bring up 2nd down and 9.
Well, you see right there, and Coach talked about defense being the key to this game. Fabricini comes in averaging 5.3 yards a carry. Tigers, though, last week held Oberlin to about 2 yards a carry. It'll be interesting to see which one gives here today.
And so Dawkins will work from that shotgun with the running back behind him, and there's a false start. And the guy that was anxious to get the play started on the left side of that Denison offensive line came up out of his stance too soon, and it's going to cost the Big Red 5 yards. I think that was Ted Dunn, the junior from Marion, Massachusetts. It's got to be an awful feeling. You break out of that stance, and then you realize you're the only one that was off and running.
Well, especially on a play like that, obviously that guard was going to pull, and you have to get such a good get-off, so right there a little bit too eager from Dunn.
So it's now 2nd and 14. Dawkins is going to keep it, and he does get the penalty yardage back, I believe. Falls down near the 26. It'll bring up a 3rd down and long for the Big Red on the game's opening drive. This is a Denison team that is 43 of 92 on third downs this year, and in their biggest wins, they've been good on third down. When they've struggled, they haven't been able to move the sticks as well.
Well, right there, it already starts with a penalty. We talked about it last game, staying on schedule, not getting behind the sticks with a poor first down run and then a penalty to back you up 5 yards. 3rd and 7 is right where the Tigers defense wants to be.
From the 27, Dawkins to throw, pressure coming, and now he will take off, and he slips and goes down at about the 33. Dawkins, without a doubt, a dual threat quarterback and is not afraid to tuck that pigskin and take off with it. He does it there because the Tigers defense in the secondary did a tremendous job in coverage.
Really did, and this Tiger defense, again, stoned the running attack of Trey Fabricini. And again, the cornerbacks were there. Christian Sweet did a nice job on one of the runs, but everything was covered up. And one of the concerns today is Drew Dawkins. He is able to run the football very tough. In fact, last week, that was the key to win for them, is his ability to move in situations where he couldn't throw it.
Punt will bounce inside the Wittenberg 40, and for Denison, the punter is Daniel Cunningham, the sophomore. It'll be down at the 28, and that's where the Tigers will set up shop. Colin Brown, the junior quarterback, 6'4", 205. Garrett Gross, Bryce Anderson, two of the top rushers on the team. Receivers, Tyler May, Jake Souse, Drew Sterrett. Drew seems to only catch touchdowns these days.
That's right.
And the Tiger offensive line will lead them out and line them up. 12:33 to go in this opening quarter. Just getting things started with the high noon kickoff today here in Springfield. Brown from the gun with two receivers to his left. Give goes to Bryce Anderson, who gets the start in the backfield, breaks a tackle, and works his way all the way out to the 37. That's a 9-yard run.
Well, no, absolutely, and we talk about it all the time, guys. The run setting up the pass. Colin Brown comes in this season having by far his most efficient stretch of the season within these last 4 games or so. And it all starts with that running attack and those offensive linemen giving holes for Garrett Gross, Bryce Anderson, and Reed Hall.
And so Brown, actually they give him 10 yards in the first down. They spotted at the 38. So Anderson gets 10 on his first carry. Give it to him again around the right end. He'll be forced out of bounds near the 43. On the stop for Denison was Jack Nemeshem, the defensive back on the far side near the Denison sideline. 2nd down, and we'll say 6 coming up for the Tigers offense. Coming off a huge Saturday a week ago, a 62-point effort and a win over Oberlin. Tigers pretty much did whatever they wanted in the first half, especially in that game. They'll fake the handoff, and Brown will look to throw, but he'll take off and run, diving forward near the 45. That's a gain of 3. Nobody's going to confuse Brown's running ability with, say, Drew Dawkins, but one of the things that I've noticed this year with the more mature Colin Brown is he has done a better job of picking those spots.
Well, no, absolutely, and that is with the maturity of an offense. And when you have a running game as powerful as the Tigers do, what you do is you set up a play-action deep ball, right? The average completion for this Wittenberg offense this year is 15 yards per catch, so they like to get to at least those second-level, if not third-level defenders when they do throw the football. Right there, Colin not trying to force anything deep, knows, staying on schedule, getting to a manageable 3rd and 5.
3rd down and 3 here for the Tigers, and it's a broken play as Anderson will be marked down near the 40-yard line. Tigers have seen that 3rd down conversion be a sore spot, and here they put the ball on the turf and it never gives them a chance. Wittenberg comes in at 44% on 3rd downs for the year, and now it's 4th and 8, and here comes the punt team. Justin Maynard will be back to get the snap. Return man for Denison is Andrew Brown, the senior, at his own 22-yard line, and the kick's going to bounce outside the 20, rolls all the way down to the pylon, but then does turn and go into the end zone. That was actually Jalen Epps who was the deep man. Epps wisely lets it go there. Could have backfired, but it'll be a touchback, and here comes Denison with exactly 5 minutes gone, scoreless here at Edwards Maurer Field.
Yeah, Denison again got a break there because the kick was a really good one. And one thing about Denison's offense, this Drew Dawkins, he's a fifth-year senior. As Scott mentioned, he's a dual threat throwing and pass quarterback. He threw 2 TDs to rally Denison from a 16-0 deficit last year. He has 10 TDs on the season. Again, like Wittenberg, a very balanced attack.
It'll be a 4-receiver set here for Dawkins and company. He'll call for the football. And the senior quarterback hands it off. Fabricini straight ahead. Got hit near the line of scrimmage and falls forward for a 2-yard gain to the 22. The interior of that Tiger defensive line holding strong. Grant Hollinger in on the tackle for the Tigers.
Yeah, this Trey Fabricini, second in the nation, Division III in touchdowns. He has 12 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing. The last couple games, they've been throwing the ball to him a lot out of the backfield. We'll have to see what they do here.
They'll give to Fabricini running left. He's out across the 25 and taken off his feet near the 27. That'll be a 5-yard pickup. Fabricini lost his lid, so he's going to have to leave for a play before this 3rd and short. Denison last week survived against Hiram, 41-38, a game that had us surprised as we were following it here in the broadcast booth. Their offense wasn't the issue. They put up points, but defensively it was a letdown. And so if you're Drew Dawkins and the Denison offense, you wonder if you're going to need to put up a bunch of points to win today on the road against a very good Tigers team.
Well, and also, Scott, this is where Dawkins is very difficult because when he goes back to pass, he has an opportunity to run. And
he throws here on 3rd and 3, Coach, and completes it for a first down to the 42. He's able to fire that ball into the breadbasket of his open receiver. That was Josh Aiello, the 6'3" senior. Aiello's going to have a size advantage against these Tiger DBs today. And they use him here to pick up a first down. 8:25 to play first quarter. Each team with 1 possession that ended in a punt. Dawkins hands Fabricini running left to the 45, and out of bounds he goes at the 47. That's a 5-yard pickup.
You know, Coach, you see it right now, the adjustment right now. We talk about it quite often, how this defensive line for the Tigers has been their most consistent unit up front when it comes to their defensive game plan. So right now, good adjustment from the Denison offensive staff, going to more outside running game, attacking the corners, rather than going into the heart of that Wittenberg defense after getting stuffed on those first 2 run attempts from Fabricini.
And that's a great point, Sam, because also this guy, if he gets to run downhill, he has a bowling ball with speed, and he's got the ability to make plays. Here they try to get it to him in the outside.
Yeah, they swing it out on the screen pass, and he'll get into Tiger territory near the 48. That was where the marker was sitting, and sure enough, it's just enough. 5 yards and another Denison first down.
And that's that nuance that we're seeing now. They're not handing it off to Trey as much, but they're getting it to him in open space, and he's so strong. He's only 5'11". That's the amazing thing, but he is just absolutely one of the biggest kids for that height that you'll ever see, just packed with muscle.
3 receivers, 2 to the left. Tight end / H-back, a step off the line outside the right tackle. Play action. Dawkins fires, and it's caught near the 35, and down at the 33-yard line goes DJ Johnson. It's going to be a gain of 16 to the 32 as we come upon 7 minutes left in the first.
And that was the exact same play they just ran on that 3rd and 3 about 2 sets ago, where they flash fake to the running back. That forces the linebackers to respect it, and then you're playing with that off coverage there from your boundary cornerback with about 7 yards off, and it's going to be there the entire game. So the Tigers are probably going to have to adjust to some sort of inside leverage.
Yeah, and he got rid of that ball. Dane Flatter came in from his right linebacker position. He came after him, so he got a good play on that.
Straight ahead, Fabbricini fighting to get to the 29. Actually, Drew Brown on the carry. Fabbricini's coming back in. He got a spell there for one play as the senior, Brown, 5'7", 205, gets it and runs straight up the gut.
And, you know, Sam, you've talked about this a lot. The ability to run the football with Fabbricini then sets up the pass, and they're going to pound you a couple times with the run and then look for a good RPO to throw it or run it.
On this play, again to the ground, Fabbricini straight ahead, stood up and pushed back, but forward progress gets him to the 26. That's a 3-yard gain. And it'll set up 3rd and short again for the Denison Big Red. They're marching. 5:51 to play in the opening stanza. 4 first downs for the Big Red.
And this Big Red team has a good kicker. We talked about when they start getting in the zone. Daniel Cunningham, a sophomore, he had 2 field goals last week, and he had the winning one for 40 yards.
From the gun, Dawkins. He'll let it fly and fires a strike. The catch is made on that slant to Aiden Brownlee. So already Dawkins spreading the wealth here, finding different receivers. Aiello, Johnson, Brownlee, all getting catches. It's another Denison first down. They even dumped it off to Fabbricini on one play, and the Big Red are inside the red zone.
Well, and that was such a smart concept because Coach mentioned the more utilization of Fabbricini out on those little swing passes. So what you do, you send him in motion, you make it seem like a simulated swing pass. That slot receiver is looking like he's going to go block and then changes it into a quick slant. So really smart play call and design right there.
From the shotgun, Dawkins straight ahead, Fabbricini down to the 14, make it the 13. It's a gain of 3 yards. Second and 7. So this drive for Denison, very different from the first. Not only are they obviously moving it better, but by mixing the run and pass, keeping the clock moving, they are chewing up that first quarter time, and now all of a sudden they are in position to score the game's first points. They sit at the Tigers' 13-yard line, and Dawkins gets the football and fires on the slant, getting into the end zone. Leaping and catching it is Aiello, and Denison strikes first. A 13-yard touchdown pass from Drew Dawkins to Jason Aiello. And with 4:11 to go in the first quarter, Denison leads 6-0.
And Drew Dawkins 5 for 5 right now, and most of them have been that slant pattern. And you saw it again with Aiello. He went down about 10 yards and slanted into the end zone and caught. It was a pass in a perfect position for him to score the touchdown. And right away, you know, Wittenberg struggled trying to stop this team with their balance. That was a tremendous drive by the Big Red.
No, and we saw a very similar play style with that Wabash game 3 weeks ago.
I thought the same thing, Sam.
Where your defense is beat by alignment, right? When you're giving those inside slant patterns, when you're starting 7 yards off the line of scrimmage with your hips turned toward the quarterback, you already know kind of where exactly you're expecting that route to go. Now, what happened right there was we were late on the rotation with the safety trying to fill that passing lane. So right there, it's either you have to be more onus has to be put on the safety to get over into that slant passing lane, or the cornerback just has to change his alignment and start a little bit more pressed man on, or take away those inside patterns and hope for a fade route possibly.
PAT was good by Cunningham, and so it's 7-0 Denison. Big Red set to kick it away. And again, it's Cunningham who tees it up at the 35. Nobles and Burnett, the deep men for Wittenberg. This will be Nobles, who will play it from the 5. Gets a nice block, gets across the 20, the 30, gets hit, and will be pulled down at the 37, but an excellent return for Gene Nobles. A 32-yarder that'll give the Tigers pretty good field position to start this drive with 4:05 left in the first.
And we've talked about Gene Nobles' contribution throughout this season, the 5th-year senior coming back for his last season here at Wittenberg, and to be able to have a playmaker like him really as a special team specialist, a kickoff return specialist, is so valuable, because most of the time you have Tyler May back there as your punt return specialist. To have someone with so much electric potential back there in so much open space, Coach talks about it all the time, getting your playmakers in open space, almost anything's possible.
Brown hands it off right up the middle with a little bit of running room, out across the 40 to the 43 with a late surge at the end of that play. Garrett Gross, his first carry.
You like that about Garrett Gross. Again, he got stopped and he kept his legs moving. That's something for you young kids out there. If you're a runner, don't stop when you get the first hit. Just keep moving those legs, and he gets another couple yards on that.
On 2nd down and 3, they keep it on the ground again. This time a short gain across the 45 as Gross gets them back-to-back to start this possession. It'll bring up 3rd and a little less than 2. With 3:16 to go, we're in the first quarter. Alongside the coach, Jim Scobie, and Sam Monachino, I'm Scott Leo. Glad you are with us today for what is already home game number 3 on the slate, with 2 to go for the Tigers. Quarterback sneak needing almost 2 yards, and boy, Colin Brown trying to run up the back of those offensive linemen. It looks like it did the trick. He gets a pretty decent spot to the 47, 1st down Wittenberg.
Well, and we've seen that play before, Coach. You mentioned it. I think it was against Wabash, where you were like, you wonder when they're just going to start lining people right up behind the rear of the quarterback. And it's so effective because you not only get that extra receiver, you're going to have the running back coming with 3 yards of momentum as well. So that extra push was actually the thing that got Colin across the line.
Give goes to Reed Hall around the right end with some room. Turns on the afterburners and gets inside the 40, down to the 35-yard line. It is an 18-yard run for Reed Hall, who brings the speed on the edge.
And the interesting thing about this team, we know Garrett Gross, we know Bryce Anderson, they'll pound you. They have the ability, to hit the home run, but Tyler May is the guy that when he gets on the outside, he's in space. He has a 3rd gear, and you saw it right there. We saw it last week on the screen pass where he went 58 yards on that screen pass from Colin Brown. He has got speed to burn.
From the gun, Brown will hand it off to Gross. A little bit of a high step in there for Garrett to shake free of a tackler who was trying to grab him while going to the ground. And Gross ends up down to the 30, make it the 27-yard line. That's an 8-yard pickup on 1st down. Tigers on this drive doing a really good job on 1st down.
Well, absolutely, and both teams staying on schedule. First drives for both teams were ended by self-inflicted errors, the penalty on Denison and then the miscommunication on the snap. So both teams now in their offensive system looking very comfortable.
And here is Gross again with a head of steam inside the 10. Garrett will be taken down by the last man that could have stopped him. It's an 18-yard pickup for Gross, and the Tigers will have it 1st down and goal as they try to answer that Denison score.
Yeah, huge blocking on the right side, and like we've talked about, Jeremiah Mensah, Angel Bravo, a lot of really good blocking over there to have a big run off the tackle.
Here's a give to Gross, going up the gut, got hit near the line of scrimmage, does fall forward to the 7, maybe the 8 actually, a pickup of 1. It'll be 2nd and goal, under a minute to play in the first. Tigers have rattled off 4 first downs, all of them on the ground, and they're knocking on the door.
And one of the big things, guys, right here is protection of the football. This is a game where there's a lot of pounding up front, and those running backs have got to hold on to the football. This is a game that could come down to turnovers.
Rolling right, looking, throwing. Brown throws it behind the receiver. Is it intercepted? It is. The defensive back stays in bounds as the throw from Brown missed the mark by quite a bit, throwing behind his receiver. And the guy that picked it off was Anthony Rooney, who kind of got a gift on the missed throw from Brown. And Coach Scobie, as you were saying about turnovers, this turnover will stop what looked to be an excellent Wittenberg drive.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you get in the red zone like that, and And this has been a Wittenberg team that's done very well in the red zone. And this is a game where everything's critical, but ball management is so important. And now the defense has got to get this Denison team off rhythm, because that last drive they were on rhythm and they went right down the field and scored.
Handoff Fabricini, and he will get a couple of hard yards out to the 7. That might be the final play of this first quarter here in Springfield. Wittenberg controls its own destiny to try and win at least a share of the conference title. If this team has playoff hopes, they are going to need Wabash to lose again. Of course, Wabash has the easiest remaining schedule until the final week. They've got the likes of Oberlin, Hiram, and Kenyon the next 3 weeks, but they play the Monon Bell game against DePaul to close it out. Wittenberg beat DePaul in Greencastle to give Jim Collins' team a fighting chance here in the second half to win a conference championship.
Well, no, and absolutely. And when you look at that Monon Belt game, one team could come in 0-9 and the other one 9-0, and you still wouldn't know who would win. Those are those great rivalries that no matter what the talent disparity is, and I think both those teams are actually pretty evenly matched, especially if DePaul is able to get healthy in time for that game. Anything is possible, but that's the one thing that Wittenberg, as they continue to grow this new culture, wants to avoid. They don't want to have to hope for someone else to lose. They want to be able to be in control of their destiny throughout the entire season. Obviously, that's not going to be the case this year, but obviously you have to take care of business on your games. And when you're actually playing, right now, Tigers looking a little sloppy to start this game, which is a little bit surprising considering how Coach mentioned they had looked so good the previous 2.
Tigers marched it down the field using the ground game. We saw Bryce Anderson as the ball carrier in the first drive. The second possession was Garrett Gross, and then we got a Reed Hall cameo in there for a nice run. But it was actually the passing game that upended him. It was the misfire by Brown.
And that's the interesting thing. Bryce Anderson, your kind of touchdown running back, leading the team with 5 this season. So you put him in maybe as a decoy to think you're going to run the football, and the one time you put it in the air, it ends up like that. So it's very disappointing for Coach Collins.
Dawkins will keep it himself here, pulling that ball back and running to the right edge and being tackled just across the 10. So 2nd and 8 will become 3rd down and 5. A 3-yard pickup for the senior quarterback.
Yeah, Tigers need a big stop. This is probably the biggest play of the game for the Tigers defensively. A stop would get them the ball back with probably really good field position. So they have really got to put pressure on the quarterback and make sure that they can defend the pass.
Here is Dawkins trying to step up in the pocket. He's going to be sacked. Dawkins felt the pressure coming and so made the right decision to step up into the pocket, but what he didn't count on was Connor Walls closing the gap that quick. Walls grabs him and sends him to the turf, and it's a Tiger sack that will force 4th down.
Well, Connor Walls is an incredible athlete with really long arms, and he's very bendy actually getting around those offensive linemen. Great job contorting his body and being able to stretch out his paws to be able to get his arms on Dawkins.
High snap, kick is away. Flag is thrown from behind the punter. This will be May on the return. Tyler May running sideline to sideline, now turns it up, gets across midfield, and is escorted out of bounds at the Denison 45. But let's see what this flag is about. It's going to be a hold against the Big Red. Now the Tigers actually came out of this in pretty good shape, because while it was about a 50-yard punt, they got close to a 15-yard return out of it. So if you're Wittenberg, you probably decline and take the football in Denison territory, right?
Yes, I think so. Again, a good catch by Tyler May. Showed his speed again, got to the outside and got those extra yards. And now Wittenberg definitely has focus, has purpose. They've got to put 7 points on the board.
Before the kick, it was a hold. So it will be declined. The flag came in as the punt was sailing away. Now, usually you see that flag come from that direction on a roughing the punter, but I knew that wasn't the case because nobody even got to Cunningham. So maybe just a delayed flag coming in after the hold had been committed. And so the Tigers will have it. 1st and 10 from the Denison 45. We've got 13:39 to go in the second quarter. Here's Anderson. He'll carry behind the right side of the line and get to the 42. It's a pickup of 3.
With both of these offenses, you're okay with carries like that, especially early on in a game, first half, because eventually that's going to start wearing down that defense and setting up your play-action passing game, which obviously Colin Brown, who's struggling to start this game, could actually use a little bit more help from his offensive line, really get that running game going, give him some easier reads.
And so here's Anderson on 2nd and 7, but he's bottled up pretty quickly. First guy to get a hand on him was Jonathan Bearden, the linebacker.
And, Wittenberg right now running the football well. They've got about 66 yards before they started running on this drive. But this is what is difficult, is to put yourself in a 3rd and about 8, 3rd and 7. This fits right into Denison and their defense. So right now, Colin has not been able to get any passes so far. So this is a big play.
From the shotgun, Brown. Pressure coming. He's going to be sacked. Back at the 45 for the Big Red. It was Colin Hill who gets there and brings the Tiger junior quarterback to the ground. 4th and 10. Wittenberg will punt.
And, guys, we talked about this before the game. This is a game that looked like it might be one of those 48-42 games, a lot of scoring. But the defenses have held pretty strong, especially this Denison Big Red team. They've made some big stops here, and they're forced Wittenberg to punt it again.
Kick is away. It'll be to the near sideline, and it's out of bounds. It was shanked out near the 25, maybe, is where it went out of bounds. Let's see where the line judge marks it. With 11:42 to go in the second quarter, Denison's going to get the ball back. That will be marked out at the 25. So only a 20-yard kick. And so the Tigers, despite starting in great field position, can't do anything with it. And now Denison doesn't even get pinned all that deep as they get the ball back.
No, absolutely. And it's interesting right now because the one consistent thing from this Tigers team this whole year has been their offense, the ability to move the ball efficiently down the field. And right there, a 3 and out. You have a quick drive to start the game. You have a turnover in the red zone. Very uncharacteristic mistakes, putting a lot of pressure on this defense, which has shown to be the most susceptible phase of the game.
Fabricini on the carry, gets stood up. Bottled up pretty quickly and then taken down. Forward progress puts him at the 25, so we'll call it a no-gain run. 2nd down and 10. We've got 11:22 to play. We are in the second quarter. It was a 12 noon kickoff, and the Tigers and Big Red are playing what is probably the biggest game around the conference today. Wittenberg part of a virtual tie with 1 loss at the top of the conference standings. Denison just 1 game back. Big Red have a huge win at Wabash on their resume. Here's a completion to the 30 as Dawkins gets rid of it quickly. And it is caught by DJ Johnson, a gain of close to 6 to the 31.
One thing Wittenberg's doing, and we saw it against Wabash some, is they're backing off and giving a lot of passes in front of them, and short gainers. Their goal is to not let anybody go behind them, but those short passes really help set up the run. And again, a 3rd and 4 for Denison. Another situation you got to watch Dawkins because he likes to run in this situation.
Yep, 3rd and 4 from the 31. Drew Dawkins has the snap, fires, and on that slant, it's going to be caught. Josh Aiello gets to the sticks, turns, and the football is there. Nicely done by the senior Denison quarterback as Aiello then is able to get inside of Jordan Stipe, and that's enough to move the chains to the 36-yard line. Under 10 minutes now to play until halftime.
And I think that, again, is that Aiello, his height, as you said, Scott, they're afraid to let him get anything behind them. He's so tall. He's a guy they love to throw the fade to. He's a guy they love to throw deep passes to. So they're giving him a little bit of room.
Handoff around the right end. This will be John Adamson, the tight end / H-back, going around the right side, and he'll be to the 42 Adamson picks up 6.
The one thing you don't want to do if you're the Tigers is go down by 2 touchdowns and not come away with points in this first half, because you can tell already this is going to be a very ball control game. You're not going to get many possessions with the way that both of these teams run. So the Tigers can't afford to get into too big of a hole. So this defensive drive is actually very important for the drives that are going to come in the fourth quarter, even if it doesn't even realize it at the moment.
Dawkins will hand it off. Fabricini, first down, and he's out to midfield. That's an 8-yard run. The other thing that Denison has the ability to do, mostly with Fabricini, but we saw Adamson get sprinkled in and Drew Brown as well. And then because Dawkins has the ability to run, having a team that can run it on you and move the sticks and put together long, drawn-out drives will really wear out a defense.
Well, it does. And the other thing is, this is a football team. If you let them think that they're, in this game, of course, being ahead 7-0, and then you see Trey Fabricini, he gets stronger as the game goes on. And if you give Dawkins confidence, this just really sets up a Denison team. This is their type of game. And, Coach Collins and the Wittenberg Tigers have got a lot to work on, because I agree with you, Sam. If they would get behind here, this would be a tough one. So Tigers cannot make mistakes. And if anything right now, this would be a great time to get that sack or get, a big play, maybe a turnover. This is what the Tigers need right now.
Brown carried to the 47. It brings up 2nd and 7. The Tigers are as deep on the defensive line as any position, which maybe helps you a little bit against a team like Denison, but tries to run downhill on you. Here's Dawkins stepping up. He's going to escape out the right side of the pocket. He'll get out of bounds near the 42. He was angled out by Cam Snurr. They'll mark it at the 43. So it's a 4-yard run, and it brings up 3rd and 3 for the senior Dawkins and this Denison offense. They already lead 7-0, and they're on the move again.
A quarterback like Dawkins makes you realize how important it is. Everyone thinks pass rush is just get past your guy. It's much more complicated than that, actually, because you actually have to get past your guy while staying in your rushing lane, because if you vacate and try and make a move, that opens up a line for a mobile quarterback to be able to make a play like that, and that you saw right there on that play.
Firing to the right side, catching it inside the 30, or inside the 40 at the 38 is DJ Johnson. That's a Denison first down.
One thing that Johnson did well, he needed 3 yards. He goes out about 4 or 5 and makes that out pattern, and the ball was right on the numbers, and really a defender probably 3 to 5 yards behind him.
So 1st and 10, Big Red from the Wittenberg 37. Another time-consuming drive here for Denison. They're now at 8 first downs for the game, and 7 of them have been through the air, despite establishing things on the ground first. And here's another example. To DJ Johnson, through the air. Denison first down. And so the Big Red chew up some more yardage. This time it's a gain of 14, one of their bigger plays of the day. Denison is also, by the way, guys, 4 of 6 on 3rd down. So by putting themselves in 3rd and manageable, they're picking up those first downs and keeping these drives alive.
Absolutely, doing the things that the Tigers usually do offensively, limiting the mistakes, getting in front of the sticks, and having good 1st and 2nd down plays like this.
Yeah, around the end, Mac Marston, the senior, from that tight end or H-back spot, they hand it to him around the end and let the big guy run with it with some blockers out in front, and that'll do the trick down inside the 20 again. Denison in the red zone after a pickup of 4.
And guys, Drew Dawkins 9 for 9 so far in the first half. Just having a very significant game. He's got 90 yards and a touchdown pass, but 9 for 9. He is confident, and as we talked about before, if he's confident, then this offense will be confident. Right now they're moving the ball right down the field.
Rolling left, Dawkins. He's able to get away from the Tiger rusher and keep the play extended, but there's his first incompletion. Firing incomplete, intended for Brownlee. And it'll bring up a 3rd and 5. That was Grant Hollinger who was chasing Dawkins but Drew Dawkins was able to put a move on him and separate long enough to get a pass free.
You know what, though? That gets you out of your offensive rhythm, right? When you're such a quick game predicated offense like Dawkins has been today, when you have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer, that actually very much does help your defense because the receivers now have to go make a play against those cornerbacks who now turn into man coverage, and that's the thing that Dawkins has shown an inability to throw on yet today.
Running back behind Dawkins for the 3rd and 5. Handing it off. This is Fabricini, and he won't get it. He was met by a couple of Tigers. Matt Render from his defensive end spot was able to help slow Fabricini and bring him down at the 20, I should say at the 19-yard line. So it's 4th and about 4 to go. Here comes the field goal try. Daniel Cunningham will be on. This will be a 35-yarder from the center of the field.
He's got the wind behind him.
Snap back, hold down, kick is away, and it is no good. He missed it wide right. And so Cunningham misses on a 35-yard attempt that would have made this a 2-score game. So the Tigers bend but do not break defensively.
And as Sam has been saying, they finally were able to stop that rhythm and forcing them to kick the long field goal. Great stop, terrific turnaround for Wittenberg. And now with about 5:17 to go, this is their opportunity to get points on the board, go in at halftime and get this thing straightened out.
Cunningham's second miss of the season is long 42. But it'll be Wittenberg ball. And remember, the Tigers get the ball to start the second half. So if you can put together a drive and you go down and, say, tie this game, go into the locker room, despite the fact that Wittenberg has struggled in this first half, you'd have to feel pretty good about where you stand. Here's Reed Hall on a carry, running left side, and he's out near the 30-yard line, and that is going to be a pickup of 10 to the 30, first down Tigers.
Well, no, and Coach Goby mentioned it earlier about the consistency of the kicking game. So what's going to be so interesting, both of these teams are going to want to forget this first half happened, especially if you're Denison and the Tigers do go down and score, getting the ball out of the second half and being able to take a lead when the Tigers have played their worst half we've seen so far this season. That's going to be very deflating for this Denison team.
Carry to the 34 on first down as Reed Hall gets it again. So, you know, Sam, you've made reference to that three-headed monster. We saw Anderson early, we saw Gross, and now we're seeing a little bit more of Reed Hall.
And they're all being effective today. They really are. The running game has not been the issue. It's been simple mistakes, whether by your center on pass blocking assignments. We saw him get talked to by Coach Collins, Marcus Pratt, a fifth-year senior. You see Colin Brown, who's had a great season, making inopportune mistake. It's just very interesting right now, so I love Coach Collins going back to the running game.
Yep, Hall again on the carry and fighting at the first down marker to pick up the new set of downs. He's out to the 42. That's an 8-yard run. How about the fact that we have played 26 minutes of football? Colin Brown has attempted one pass, and it was an interception.
Yeah, it's astounding. I was thinking the same thing, how Coach Collins has so much respect and he believes his offensive line and his running core that he's stuck with them.
Here's Brown on a play action. He is going to throw it for Tyler May. May makes the catch, and he's out of bounds. Goes up to get it on the sideline at the Denison 37, but got hit and pushed out. And so it'll be an incompletion. It was Downey on coverage. Here's second down.
You know what? And that was a great idea right there from Colin Brown, hitting a back shoulder on that wheel route. However, that's going to be a -2 for Colin on a passing play, because on those back shoulder balls, you have to pin it down low because you know that cornerback's going to be breaking back toward the ball to be able to knock the ball out. So again, Colin Brown just seems a little bit off, and sometimes that happens. Quarterbacking is a difficult position.
And guys, I'd say this, Sam, the wind is blowing in his face. That is the difference. He'll have everything different in that second half.
Give goes to Gross, and he'll get a yard to the 43. So here comes a 3rd and 9. Tigers are 1 for 3 on third down today, trailing 7-0. 3.5 to play until the intermission on what has turned out to be a tremendous fall day for football here in Springfield. Busy day on campus with fall sports playing here at home today. Game time temperature was, I believe, 68 degrees. Light breeze coming out of the south end zone. Tigers trying to put together a drive here. Brown steps up, throws. He does have a man. It'll be Jake Souse, wide open in Denison territory. He's able to catch it and get to the Big Red 39-yard line. 18 yards as he finds the veteran, the senior, Souse.
And we had Jake Souse on our show the other night, and we talked about his coach said this is a guy that's a real leader. He hasn't gotten as many balls this year, but he's a guy that's done little things like blocking down the field. But when they need to have a go-to guy, he's the hands guy, and they find him. They get a first down, a big play from Colin Brown and Jake Souse.
Two receivers bunched to the right, one to the left. Handoff Gross. Fighting, still moving forward inside the Denison 35. He's down to the 33. Does Garrett Gross ever get stopped by the first man to touch him? That's the question, because here it takes 4 or 5 Denison defenders to get him, and that's after 6 yards.
No, never. Garrett Gross, and Coach mentioned it earlier, the ability for him to keep his legs churning when getting that first contact. And Garrett, we talk about it, you talked about it, Scott, with his high step, and he runs high, which is surprising with how much extra yardage he's able to get when he's hit. But I have to mention something about Jake Souse. Always find number one, whether it be Jeff Tiffner,
Absolutely.
Sam Kaiser, or now Jake Souse.
Yeah,
It just seems to be the number.
Guys. Here is Gross shedding a tackler, and then he stumbles and goes down. Otherwise, that's a 33-yard touchdown run. The turf monster is all that stops Gross here, and it's after 23 yards. Make it 22. They're going to put him down at the 11, but the Tigers are in business with 1:47 left to play in the second quarter. First down and 10 as Brown lines him up. He'll have Reed Hall to his right. And he'll give to Reed. Reed will fight his way back to the line of scrimmage after being hit in the backfield. And he actually gains 2 yards down to the 9.
I think that time they thought they were going to pass the football, and so they had the linebackers coming. And this left linebacker came up and made the stop, got to the runner before he got to the line. So this is a situation where you got to mix it up a little bit. And you can't, again, as we say, you can't have any bobbles or turnovers here. You got to put it in the end zone right now.
Here's Brown on 2nd and 8. Gives to Hall. Cuts it back, and he'll get down to the 6. That's 3 more yards for Reed Hall. Talking about Garrett Gross, here's the other thing that's kind of deceiving. We talked about how he runs high. He's 6'1".
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the Tigers have had a stretch of a bunch of small running backs, at least in terms of height. And Bryce Anderson fits that bill. He's about 5'6".
Right.
But you go down and talk to Garrett Gross, he doesn't even have his shoulder pads or his helmet on. You realize he's not a little guy.
Not at all, and it's stature as well. I mean, he is a thick guy. You talk about walking muscle. That is what Garrett Gross is, and that's so valuable, especially when you have short to go down yardages.
3rd and 5, and Brown's going to throw to the back corner of the end zone for Hall, who's still in there for Gross, but it's incomplete. I thought Brown was maybe trying to throw it away, but he gave Hall a chance, but Reed couldn't keep a foot in bounds and make the catch near that back pylon. So this drive's going to stall out with 22 seconds left in the half at the Denison 7-yard line. Now the good news is Wittenberg has a chance to come away with points right here because Brandon Goodwin is on. This would be a 24-yarder to get Wittenberg on the board. Kick is away, and it is good. So Wittenberg does avoid the first half shutout by putting together a drive again, mostly through the running game. Wittenberg's 8 first downs, 7 have come through the rushing attack, and it's now 7-3 Denison. We've got 19 seconds to go.
Well, there are certain halves in games of football where you say burn the tape. This is one of those halves. If you are the Wittenberg offense, if you are the Wittenberg defense, you get all the kudos and all of the praise that you deserve, because the fact that the Tigers are not only still in this game, but actually in a very good situation coming with the ball out of the second half. This offense today, because field goals actually don't count as a successful red zone trip. So they're 0 for 2 in the red zone. That's been one of their skills. Their ability to hold on to the football, turnovers, their ability to not shoot themselves in the foot. We've had a bad snap and bad pass protection as well. The fact that this Tigers team is only down 4 points with a chance to take the lead coming out, that is something that you have to give so much credit to Coach Marquise and this defensive staff about.
kick will be on the ground here to avoid a return from one of the deep men. So a sliding grab for Denison. Oliver Kovas was the guy that grabbed it, and no return. So the Big Red will take over with 18 seconds left in the half. Let's see if Denison decides to take a shot here or if they're content to take a 7-3 lead into the locker room. Total yardage is Denison 154, Wittenberg 139. So even though it feels like Denison has controlled the first half, statistically and on the scoreboard, it's fairly even. And Dawkins will take a knee, and we have reached the half. And so, Coach Scobie, now it'll come down to whether or not the Tigers can recover and respond and win this game at home.
Well, and this is where you have to go in at halftime as a coaching staff and look at what has happened already. What do you need to do differently, especially on offense? What do you need to do to be successful? What's working, what's not? And that's something that, they have special plays, they have special situations. Very important that Wittenberg gets back to their offensive ways because, as we've said, there are not going to be that many opportunities the way the game is going with the running game. Clock's going to run a lot, and it's going to come down to every possession now, especially in your drives. You've got to make your drives work. You got to continue the defense and keep stops on two guys, Drew Dawkins and Trey Fabricini. But other than that, that's what Wittenberg has to do, or this is going to be a long day.
Football's a team sport, and it never comes down to one player. However, Drew Dawkins is 9 of 10 for 90 yards and a touchdown. Colin Brown is just 1 for 4 for 18 passing yards. Colin Brown's going to have to play better in the second half.
Well, no, absolutely, and that's what you want from your junior quarterback. You want to put that much pressure on them and see if they can do it, and Colin Brown undoubtedly can. He's proven it throughout this entire year. He went head-to-head with Liam Thompson when Wabash came in here, and Colin performed just to Liam's level, if not better, in my opinion. I thought Colin's been so impressive this whole season. And when you're a quarterback, you have games like this where the defense is showing you things that you maybe didn't expect with a certain formational alignment, or the defensive twists are getting in your head a little bit. You just have to be able to clear your mind. But the one stat that I find really interesting, guys, both of these teams dominate time of possession. So that was going to be an interesting thing. Right now, the Tigers trailing in it by 3 minutes. Denison's had it for 16 minutes compared to the 13 for the Tigers. That's going to be very interesting to see if Denison can control the ball. With the lead, if you're controlling the ball, you control the rest of the game, and you don't give Colin a chance to get into a rhythm.
16:56 to 13:04 to be specific, that first half time of possession, but it'll be Wittenberg with a chance to add to that total when we rejoin you for the second half. Wittenberg set to receive the second half kickoff. Once again, here at the break, it is Denison 7, Wittenberg 3 on the Tigers Sports Network.
Fans, I am honored to be joined by representatives of your football team. I'm lucky to be here with running back Bryce Anderson and head coach Jim Collins. First off, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Coach, obviously a lot of excitement around this team right now. I was wondering if you had any highlights from the first half of the season.
Well, obviously, we're a team that's getting better every week, and these last 2 weeks have been outstanding in terms of just coming together, playing hard, going to DePaul and getting that win was huge, and then being able to come back home last week and play the way we did and play as many people as we did is definitely the bright marks of the first half, and looking forward to the second half.
No, absolutely, and obviously, Bryce, as we build that momentum into the second half of the season, a lot of big games coming up, starting with Denison. I was wondering, how are you feeling right now in your guys' preparation and where you guys are going as a team?
Honestly, I'm feeling really good right now. The room around the offense and the defense, we're all just clicking on all cylinders right now. We're ready to play fast and physical for the rest of the season, and we're going to play some big games coming up with Ohio Wesleyan and Denison. So the NCAC championship is on the line right now, and we just got to go out there and perform.
Absolutely, and obviously a very special night tonight, Meet the Team night, something new here at Wittenberg. I was wondering if I could get your guys' thoughts on the event as a whole.
I think it's great. A lot of times on campus, you really don't know who's on other teams, really by names. You just see faces in the facility. So it's a good opportunity to go out, know some names, meet some people, to be able to congregate and talk to different athletes on different teams and support each other.
Dr. Mike Franzen. First off, President, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
An absolutely incredible night full of a lot of great players, coaches, staff, and just people in general. And that's what Wittenberg obviously brings to this campus, the type of people. And that starts at the top with you, obviously.
Well, thank you.
How important was it for you to put on an event like this where we're able to celebrate all these athletes and coaches tonight?
Yeah, well, we're at a point in the season where all of those teams are right in it, right? The football team, half-game lead in the conference. Got to get past Denison, get a little help along the way, but they're right in the thick of things. Women's volleyball, number 9 in the country, chance to clinch the conference championship. Both soccer teams, field hockey, all right there battling, and it's so exciting to see every one of our teams contending for a championship, and to have them all come together tonight to celebrate each other, to celebrate Wittenberg. We had a couple weekends ago where everybody won. Yep. And I'm looking for that again this weekend.
No, absolutely. And then obviously part of your job, you have so many hats to fill as the president, and you have to focus on the academic part, which is also excelling at this point. But athletics is obviously a huge part of your job. How are you feeling right now about the athletic department as a whole, and really as the direction it's going under Director Agler?
Yeah, I feel good about the athletic department and the whole university right now. I mean, we've been through a rough couple of years, right? And it's just been so gratifying this fall to feel the energy come back into the campus, right? I mean, we did the best we could. We had a great 2 years.
Yes.
As great as we could under the circumstances. And, now we've got people together, we've got people excited, we've got a great collection of fall sports. We didn't even talk about golf, men's golf. No. Top 10 in the country, right? The cross-country team doing great. Yep. So there's just so much going on with athletics, but also with the whole campus. We've got new academic programs that we've started up. We've got the biggest nursing class in history, Yours was the first, but now we've got a huge entering class in the nursing program, and just so many things happening at Wittenberg. And, I think one of the things that's really important to show the support that people have for this place is the success of our Having Light campaign. We have exceeded our $100 million goal in the campaign, and that just shows the passion that people have for Wittenberg and for supporting students, student athletes, student musicians, scholars, and I'm so grateful to have that support.
No, absolutely, and we have really built something amazing over the last 2 years over COVID, and we're coming out of it, and I know that all of the alumni, personally, all the current students, and everyone is so excited. Thank you so much, President.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Go Tigers! Tiger up!
Number 32, Kyle Hornsby. Inside the 30, touchdown. Michaela burns it.
An incredible finish by Hall. The NCAA and its member schools offer nearly 500,000 college athletes a path to go pro in something other than sports. Learn more at ncaa.org.
At Wittenberg, we know life's not always a straight line. Each zig or zag, that's a new opportunity, a chance to grow, to find your light and pass it on to others. The people here make that possible for you. Wittenberg is more than a great school with a pretty campus and strong connections. We make it fun to find your purpose in life so you can shine brightly in the world. After all, the college of your dreams is the one that works hardest to support them.
To them, the whole world looks like an opportunity, one to be seized, built upon, and made better for their sport and the people around it. To student athletes, every opportunity is a chance to change what could be and show the world what opportunity can do.
So Patterson came as a freshman, and he was pretty resolute in wanting to be a vet, and I still think that's probably his calling.
Sierra is a kind person who's very bright.
Dr. Wagner and my other professors at Wittenberg really fight for me as a student, and they want to let me have opportunities that maybe aren't the orthodox thing to do, but that are going to grow me as an individual person.
So I've never had class with Dr. Phillips, but I've been doing research with him since freshman year, and he's allowed me to choose my own projects and research that I find interesting. So we're fulfilling our research goals while also working my own personal interests in research.
So I feel like one of the biggest advantages of the small classroom size here at Wittenberg is the fact that everybody gets to know one another. Students get to know professors, professors get to know students, and that just contributes to a great learning environment.
The smaller size of Wittenberg allows things to be a lot more personalized to you. I mean, this semester I'm, as a student, directing a main stage show. If I had went to a big theater school, I never would have had that opportunity. That's something I could only find at Wittenberg.
I'm able to sit down with a student and try to figure out what his or her calling is, and even the beginning pieces of it, so that it's not just about helping them pick a major. We talk in terms about what's the kind of life you want to have, and how can we help you take the courses, get the outside of the classroom experiences to help you be ready for that path. But we also know you're likely to change your mind in a major. Students don't necessarily come to college knowing what they're going to major in, and that of course makes sense because they're 17, 18 years old.
So I used to be a biology major when I was here, and when I switched over to theater, my professors in the science department would come and see my shows and come and support me in that way, and showed that they didn't care if I was a number in their list of people in their department. They cared that I was a person succeeding at Wittenberg and who was finding my way here.
I've had the privilege of following careers for students decades after they've graduated here. Invited to weddings, contacted by potential employers, years out. It is something that I think speaks to the value and the truth of the statement that we truly value the individuals here.
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say to like a student looking at this at Wittenberg would be, come here on a tour and visit. You have the opportunity to meet with professors, meet students here. You can even sit in on a classroom and see what it's really like. But even beyond that, there's great social life, academics, and everything you could ever want, all at Wittenberg.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Visiting my alma mater where I studied for 4 years. It's been a while since I've graduated, and they've made a lot of changes and updates, especially the athletic complex. They made a new facility with new track, new fields, and everything, so I'm really excited to see that. This is Woodlawn, and I lived here my freshman year. I had a double all to myself, and unfortunately it didn't have any air conditioning, but it worked out for my freshman year and I just went up from there. Our famous Wally Witt. This is the student center where a lot of activities happen. The mailroom was in the basement, Founders, the game room. Everything's closed, but school hasn't technically opened yet. In this enclosure was the game room. They had TVs, PlayStations, Xbox, everything. It was really cool to go down there with your friends and play games. Across the way is a university-style pub called Founders. They serve drinks, wings, anything like that. And every Wednesday they had trivia nights and sometimes some comedy shows. Also, you could find the bookstore and Post 95. Wow, this looks like a completely different bookstore than when I was here. And upstairs is where a lot of people ate when they were a freshman or sophomore, and it's called the CDR. We had to take our ID card and get it swiped, and then we could eat everything we wanted. This is my favorite dorm. It is called New Hall because it's relatively the newer dorm on campus. I lived here my sophomore year and was an RA, so I had a single all to myself, and I made a lot of friends. It was co-ed, and I have a lot of memories in that dorm. This used to be the student housing office, and I worked here my freshman year as a student worker. This is Polis, an international dorm, and I lived here for a semester before I studied abroad in Japan. This is Tower Hall. I was an RA here my senior year, and because of its 11 floors, you know why it gets its name. Right next to Tower is Firestein Hall, which is where most of the athletes and football players lived. This is my old stomping ground, but what's really new is this. Can't wait to see inside. Heading into the rec center, and hopefully it connects to the new athletic complex. Fitness centers stay the same. Well, they redid this gym for sure. This used to be super old, and this is where we actually had some indoor practices, and it's completely redone. Down here used to be the weight room, so we'll see how much that changed. Looks like downstairs is now the athletic training center. So now we're just trying to find our way around. Apparently it's back towards the entrance. Oh, I found the weight room. It looks nice. I don't even know what half this equipment is. But good for them for getting it. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. This place is amazing. I wish I had this when I was in school. The Steamer is a state-of-the-art 265,000 square foot indoor practice facility. It includes a 6-lane, 300-meter track and an artificial turf that can accommodate football, soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey. The turf feels nice and squishy. I am thoroughly impressed with the new facility. I am super jealous of all the athletes and people who get to use this in the future. It looks like they redid all the gym floors. This is Hollenbeck Hall, and I've spent a lot of time in this building. The teachers' offices have changed a little bit since I've been here last, but in essence, everything is still the same. The writing center used to be right here, and I went there to get my papers checked. I printed them over here in the computer lab. This is the language learning center, and you can get tutored in foreign languages. I remember having some classes in there, and that was cool because it was kind of isolated from everyone and kind of in the middle. Kind of like a goldfish where everyone could see you. In this auditorium was where I had my WIT freshman seminar and also a ton of performances for the East Asian Studies Club. We're entering the Science Center. I did not take a lot of classes in science, so I wasn't in this building as much. I think I had a geology class and a math class in this building. I do love the way the lobby is set up though. It's very nice and open. They even have a little concession stand usually over here, and that's where I would get some snacks on my way to class. We came in on the second floor of the science building and came out the first. So this is the front. And now we're going down the hill towards the art building, and on the way is the observatory. Now I've never been in it, but there are some nights where it's open and you can go in and see the stars. Now this is the art building, and I have spent numerous nights in here doing a lot of art projects. Unfortunately it's not open, but there are 3 levels. On the top floor is the computer lab and photography area, and the bottom is mostly gallery space and offices. Zimmerman Hall is up the way, but I didn't have a lot of classes in psychology, which is mainly what that building is for. This big beautiful building is the registrar, and so new students and new parents can see it, and it's definitely an eye catcher for all the new people coming on campus. We're coming up to a building called Carnegie Hall, and that's where the business and economics used to be, at least when I went to school, but then after I graduated they moved up to Hollenbeck. So now I'm not really sure what this building is for, but I just remember it being super hot because there was no air conditioning. Right next to Carnegie Hall is the commencement area. Unfortunately, during my graduation, it was a little rainy. If you cross the Kissing Bridge, you make your way towards another dorm. This one's called Ferncliff. Now, I never lived here, but when I was on RA, our 2 dorms were kind of combined with the same CA, and we had meetings here often. This is the base of campus, and it leads you right up to the fountain, where you can continue up the hill all the way up to Hollenbeck. In the middle of campus is the infamous seal. Legend has it that if an undergrad touches it before they graduate, the first time, a bad grade. The second time, fail a class. The third time, you get expelled. So no one touches it and everyone avoids it. And once you graduate, you're allowed to step on it. This building is also really iconic to Wittenberg. It is Myers Hall, a place where you can also live. This building is special because it was the first building constructed back in 1845. Weaver Chapel is one of the most beautiful buildings and contains spectacular stained glass windows. It was even featured in National Geographics. We had a lot of award ceremonies located in here, and it's just gorgeous. Now, I know they did some renovations to the library, so I'm excited to see what's new. Mainly because
Wittenberg and Denison getting set to start the second half here in Springfield. The Tigers trail 7-3. It is Game 7 of the Tigers season. Wittenberg 4-2 overall, 4-1 in conference play. And alongside the coach, Jim Scobie and Sam Monachino, I'm Scott Leo, and we are glad you're tuned in wherever you may be today, watching on the Tigers Sports Network through our YouTube channel. Hello to all the folks who are watching. Got a lot of compliments from some of our Tiger faithful who have been tuned in this year and have been watching the games. And it's hard to believe, but you know, we're into late October. It's only home game number 3 on the year, and there's still plenty of football to be played as Wittenberg tries to play for a conference championship, maybe a trip to the playoffs. Next week is the last regular season road trip for Jim Collins' team before they come right back here and play 2 home games in November. It seems like the season has flown by, and here we are, Coach Scobie, at a very critical point in the season where if Wittenberg wants to win its 18th NCAC championship, they're going to need to have a big second half today.
Yeah, they've got their hands full. They're down 7-3. Hasn't been the prettiest first half for offense. In fact, one of the things we talked about at halftime, only 18 yards passing. This is a team that averages 220 yards a game throwing the football. So the key, and I know Coach Collins has talked about it, balance has always been big. We're running the football well, but we've got to get the balance back. We've got to get the ball tossed around a little bit and take some pressure off the defense.
Kick is away from Cunningham. It'll be returned by C.J. Burnett, who runs out to the right side and gets up into
nice
near
tackle.
The 25. Good open field stop made by the Big Red coverage squad. And so that's where Wittenberg will get it started here in quarter number 3. And we saw Sam Monachino, a very heavy ground attack from the Tigers in the first half. 139 yards of offense, but only 18 of those passing.
I think that football can be a copycat sort of game sometimes. I remember when the Wildcat became very popular. If I was Coach Collins, I would try and copy some of the Denison offense. Give Collins some quick passes. Give him some easy throws that he makes one read and get him into a rhythm.
Here's Bryce Anderson on a first down carry. Gets spun around and taken down after a gain of 1. It was Jeff Moore, the linebacker, who made the stop for the Big Red.
Yeah, the best medicine for an offense right now, especially Wittenberg's, is to get a couple big plays, move the football, some explosive plays, and take some pressure off of Colin. His offense really needs to give him some time and help them, make some plays.
No doubt about that. And here he is rolling left and looking to throw. And he does have a man near the sideline at the 35. Catch is made, pushed out of bounds there is Malik Bowe, and so the Tigers do get Brown his second completion of the day.
And that is exactly what we're talking about. He rolls him out on a semi-roll, limits the field to only half the field. You have a very easy low to high read. If that cornerback sits on the low, you're going to hit that corner, but he ended up dropping out into his back third. Malik Bowe there with good hands, and he's a great athlete to be put in space, and then that's really going to get this offense hopefully rejuvenated.
Tigers will have a fresh set of downs and will go back. Nope, faking the handoff to Anderson. They'll swing it out to Hall, and Reed Hall will get out near midfield all the way to the Wittenberg 48. A gain of 7 yards, so we do see that quick pass here as a way to get this Tigers passing game rolling a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a great RPO. Again, They could have handed it off, and on that play, Denison was ready. They had their guys coming up, and they were ready to stone the play, but a nice pull out and throw to the side, and a big gain. Takes a lot of pressure off on this second down and about 3.
It will be a 2nd and 3 from the Tigers' own 48. A little bit of a low snap, but Brown will hand it to Anderson this time, and Bryce gets a yard and then gets met near the 49. It'll be a gain of 1. Again, the stop for Jeff Moore for Denison.
You know, that was a good play by Denison. Again, Wittenberg trying to get to the outside, but that defensive end came across, forced everything to the middle, and then the linebackers cleaned it up. So, again, a 3rd and 2, and Wittenberg needing to get a first down.
Just 2 of 5 on 3rd downs in the first half. And they do need this one. Down 7-3. Brown lines him up. He'll have Anderson to his right. Tyler May, the receiver, out to the right. Give goes to Anderson, and Denison was ready for it. They were playing the running game all the way there, and it was Jonathan Bearden who hit Anderson and dropped him back at the 47. A loss of 2, 4th and 5. Wittenberg will punt. I'm actually surprised that they didn't go back to the air there.
No, absolutely. We often talk about football in terms of tennis, where it's serve, receive, and things like that. Who has the advantage? And right there, Wittenberg has wasted 2 opportunities so far. When you stop them on their opening drive in the first half, Denison, you have the ability, and then coming out of the half, you need points. You just made your adjustments right there. Very disappointing start to the half offensively.
The punt will bounce into the end zone. That was the Tiger punter Connor Ingram who did the kicking duties on that one. Goes into the end zone, so Denison will bring it out with 11:46 to go in the 3rd quarter. I was anticipating we might see a little play action and a passing play on 3rd down, just because it seemed like Coach Collins had kind of set us up for that with a couple of those shorter passes.
No, absolutely, and what you look at is defenses come into a game with the idea of, I'm going to stop something and make the other thing you're not as comfortable at beat me, right? So obviously Denison comes out of that first half. They struggle with the running game. They're saying, all right, we're going to commit, overload, blitz the offensive line. We have success with those runs, and we don't put it in the hands of the quarterback.
And here's the hands of the quarterback. Dawkins taking off up the left sideline, 80 yards. Drew Dawkins found a huge seam, and nobody puts a hand on him. And the Denison senior QB goes to the house on the very first play of the drive, and the Big Red lead 13-3. 11:33 to play in the 3rd.
And I think that was a running play from the get-go. They spread everybody out. He came off that left tackle, and it was absolutely clear to the end zone. He had to beat one safety, and he was able to do that. So, again, just what Wittenberg wanted to do was score, and they give up the first drive a touchdown to Dawkins.
So it's 14-3. The PAT is good. And we had talked about Wittenberg getting the ball first to start the second half and what they might be able to do with it. Instead, after a punt, it's Denison who cracks the big play. Drew Dawkins on the quarterback keeper, and that's where he's kind of a different type of quarterback. Not only is he a running quarterback, but he actually ran away from the Tiger defensive backs.
Breakaway speed is something that is so valuable in this game, especially when you have incredible athletes in the secondary for defenses. So the ability for any athlete to be able to break away, but when you have that ability as a quarterback, that gives you such another dimension that it makes you so much more dangerous, because then the secondary not only has to be worried about their man in coverage, they have to worry about if they turn their back, you could be running, and then they're going to be behind the sticks already with your breakaway speed. So Dawkins, very impressive athlete.
Drew Dawkins having the game of his career right now as far as this year. He is 9 for 10. He's got a touchdown pass. He's now gone 96 yards rushing. Make that 99 yards rushing and a touchdown, his longest, the 80-yarder we just saw.
Kick is away. It'll be fielded at the 11 by Burnett, and he's only going to get to the 21. Drug to the turf right there for Denison. Sean Carr makes the stop, and here comes the Wittenberg offense now down by 11. Largest deficit of the day for Colin Brown and company. Playing here in front of the home crowd in a key NCAC matchup. This Denison team set themselves up to be playing for a conference championship in November after they went to Wabash and won, but they've dropped a couple since then, and so it's no doubt a must-win for Denison, but really a must-win for the Tigers also. Here's a give to Reed Hall around the left end out to the 40, or I should say to the 30. That's a gain of 9 for Hall. Unless you think there's a scenario where 2 losses can get you a piece of the championship, which would be very unlikely, the Tigers need this one today.
For sure. I mean, the offense right now is sputtering a little bit, which is something that's been, as we've documented multiple times throughout this broadcast, something you haven't seen. And that's also something very interesting. Mentally, when you get punched in the mouth for the first time seemingly all season, how do you respond as a unit, right? Because you've really been able to dictate other teams. Right now, Denison is dictating you defensively. So how do you respond? What do you go to? What are your playmakers? I look for Jake Souse to really step up here as a senior leader, along with some of those other weapons like Drew Sterrett, who we haven't seen much of today.
We'll swing it out to Souse near the line of scrimmage, and he'll race up the sideline. First down to the 35. Gain of 5 yards for Souse.
You know, I think you're right, and I think, Sam, one of the things they're going to have to do is that play right there. Get it to Souse, you know, out in space. Reed Hall, get him in and allow him to have the ball in space. It's so important right now to spread things out and really let some of your key wide receivers make plays.
Souse goes in motion. They'll fake the handoff to him. Here comes pressure. Brown has to get rid of it. He throws incomplete. Throws at the shoelaces of Jake Souse as he was being hit and taken to the turf. The guy that came on the blitz was Jeff Moore. Nobody picked him up, and so he had a free path to the quarterback.
Well, right there, Moore was the one that was actually over Souse on the motion. So when he starts to motion, he's just saying, okay, I'm going to replace where Souse was. No one's going to be blocking me. So very heads-up play right there from the defender.
And so it's 2nd down and 10. Brown looking. He's going to throw for Tyler May at the 38. Spins and gets out to the 40, where he is tackled by the coverage man. That was Jalen Epps. Epps is a little bit slow to get up here. That's a pickup of 5, but the Tigers are still 5 yards short.
Jalen Epps with a really good play there. Got up, you know, as if he'd been hurt a little bit. Epps is a tremendous
is there a
kickoff.
Flag?
Kickoff
there is
guy.
A flag, Coach. It's
it's
at the 40-yard line, but it's opposite of where the catch was made, ineligible downfield.
Yep. That actually makes a lot of sense, because if you looked at Collins' footwork right there, it was quick passing. But because of the defender being able to jam him off the line of scrimmage, which we've talked about too, when a cornerback is playing up close man, that does risk the long ball possibility if you're beat, but it also disrupts the quick passing game. So right there it does. And the offensive linemen are taught to get down the field on quick passing attempts. So right there, a little miscommunication puts the Tigers back behind the sticks.
Tigers need to get at least half of this 15 yards.
Brown will fire it. Intercepted. No, dropped. Should have been picked off as he was looking for Tyler May out at about the 42-yard line. It was Downey who jumped in front, Roshan Downey, but he couldn't hold on. So 2nd and 15 becomes 3rd and 15 from the Tigers' own 30 with exactly 5 minutes gone in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, that's a long pass over the sideline, and it just kind of hung up on him. And Tigers are lucky that didn't go. That could have been a pick 6.
Brown will fire for May down the sideline, but he missed him. Let him too much as May had snuck behind Downey, and the safety help wasn't quite there yet. So if that's a good throw, it's a big gainer for the Tigers. It'll be 4th and 15, and Wittenberg will punt. It'll be Ingram again to kick it away.
That's another one of those drives that you really felt like, you know, Wittenberg had a chance. That pass, if he catches it, he may go to the end zone, but just the ball a little bit overthrown.
Snap back, kick is away. Ingram gets into this one with a little more real estate to work with. It's still going to bounce all the way to the end zone, though. So Ingram with a 70-yard kick. But it's going to come back out, and that's where Denison will start at the 20-yard line with 9:47 to go in the third quarter.
That extra boost of wind, Coach, you mentioned it in the first half. It's really assisting the kicking game, but maybe also kind of messing with the throwing game when you're trying to do those downfield passes. But the importance of a quarterback's confidence, and it shows in all the little things, right? Colin's trying so hard at the moment to get out of this funk that on that ball that was almost intercepted, his eyes went straight to where he was going to throw. So the cornerback wasn't fooled at all by that play-action pass. You just try and press and press and press to get out of the funk, and it's just a difficult start right now for the Tigers.
Here's a first down carry right up the middle, and they will give it to Fabricini, and he'll carry to the 27. 2nd and 3 coming up.
And guys, this is where Denison wants to run the football. They want to be able to grind it out, run clock, and get through this third quarter. And if they can move it down the field, great. But they really want to run the ball and try to keep this thing rolling.
Straight ahead to the 30-yard line, Fabricini, and he did get enough. He did. First down. So I've got Denison 244 total yards, and 154 of those have been on the ground. Drew Dawkins is at 99 yards. Of course, 80 of those came on one carry. Fabricini, 12 carries, 39 yards. Big Red moved the sticks. 8:45 to go in the third. Dawkins looking to throw, but pressure comes and he'll be sacked. It was Mike Knock who gets home for the sack as Knock sheds a blocker very quickly, and Dawkins had nowhere to get away.
Go to your playmakers, right? We always talk about it offensively. Go to South whenever you're in trouble. Well, whenever you need to play defensively, you can always count on number 90 up there on that D line to make a play. And an excellent swim move to get past his guy real quickly. And Dawkins, as great as an athlete as he is and as great of a quarterback he is, no one feels comfortable when you have a big guy like Mike Knock running directly at you, and especially coming from that nose tackle position. That makes him so valuable as a defender.
Dawkins gets the snap and looks. He's going to dump it off. Fabricini to the 20 on the screen pass to the 23. And he'll be knocked off his feet near the 24. Pickup of 4 yards after the 10-yard sack. So it'll be 3rd and 16. 7:47 to go. We're in the third quarter alongside the coach, Jim Scobie, and Sam Monachino. Scott Leo with you today. We are at Edwards Maurer Field. If you're tuning in expecting it to be early in the game, you may have thought it was a 1 o'clock kickoff. It is not. We kicked it off at 12 noon. And this is, of the games around the conference, probably the one that sparks the most interest. Two teams near the top of the standings going head-to-head today. Looking to throw Dawkins on 3rd and 16. Looking, has to run with it, and it will be a short gain for Dawkins. He'll get maybe a yard as Connor Walls got there. And that'll be a gain of 1 to the 26. So, 4th down, 14 to go. Denison will punt it away as they call upon Daniel Cunningham.
And there again, the front four doing a super job getting the ball back for the Tigers. You sense a little bit of momentum for the Tigers here. This could be a good setup. They get the ball in some good field position, and this would really bode well for the Tigers.
Punt will be a fairly short one. It actually bounces not too far past midfield, and Denison will down it. We'll see where they mark it. It looks like it'll be at the Wittenberg 45. So that is a great turnaround for the Tigers. It's a 31-yard kick. Actually, it might be less than that. Looks like they're going to mark it at the 48. It's a 33-yard kick. Wittenberg with excellent starting field position, trailing 14-3 with 6:48 to play in the third.
Well, absolutely, and you look at it, we've had actually great starting field position the entire game, minus the first 2 drives coming out of the half with our kickoff returns having a little bit of miscommunication, but huge opportunity to get points on the board. But I think that we can finally start to put to bed this idea that the Wittenberg defense is having an off year. I think they've exercised their demons, and I think Coach Marquise and the players for sticking with it have to be given so much credit.
Here's Garrett Gross on a first down carry, and he'll rumble ahead to the Denison 47. He's stopped by Jonathan Bearden, the linebacker. It'll be a gain of 5. Another carry for Gross, left side. He'll be thrown down at the Denison 43. So Gross running hard as he always does. Chews up about 4 more yards. It'll be a 3rd and 1 for the Tigers. We're going to go under 6 minutes left in this third quarter. Ball on the left hash mark in Denison territory. Tigers need to put together a scoring drive. Brown calls for the football, gives it to Gross. He's going to cut it back left side, has the first down. He'll be upended near the 40. Stop is made by Downey coming up from his cornerback position. Gain of 2. Fresh set of downs here for the Tigers. Wittenberg's now 3 of 8 on 3rd downs. It hasn't been a great day converting on those, but they do on this occasion.
Well, that just shows you the amount of confidence Coach Collins has in the run game. They had 10 of their 11 defensive players within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage right there and still didn't choose to audible out. Great roll.
Yep, it'll be Brown on the keeper. Around the left end, Colin Brown inside the 20, all the way down to the 15. So Brown calls his own number, picks up 26 yards, and Wittenberg is inside the red zone looking for their first touchdown today.
And that's why the read option is so dangerous, Coach, because when you have a running game as efficient as the Tigers do, that defensive end is going to want to crash, but really, there's really nothing he can do. It's just that defender in you to want to make a play. So great job by Colin taking advantage of that aggressiveness.
Here's a give to Anderson. So Bryce Anderson back in mid-drive here, and he carries to the 10. 5-yard run for the senior tailback.
Yeah, that play by Colin Brown, similar to the 80-yard touchdown by Drew Hawkins, but this one was to the left, and he had to make a read kind of rolling. But once he made he faked the handoff, he had room, and it looked like he might take it to the house. A great play by Colin Brown.
Brown will work from the shotgun with Anderson to his right. Movement, flags, whistles. It's a Wittenberg false start. Penalties are always bad. They're even worse when you're down inside the 10. And so this will back the Tigers up to about the 15. It negates that 5-yard first down run. It's now 2nd and 10.
And all the mistakes that are coming today from Wittenberg are happening in their red zone, which is just killer. It's
extremely out of character.
It's completely out of character, and it's honestly the sign. This is not a thing that you could say. Undisciplined.
Yeah.
Red zone, you have to be the most disciplined because the defense knows you can't go deep. Right now, Tigers not really stepping up to that challenge.
Here's a carry by Anderson who gets those 5 yards back. He says, I'm going to take 5 more as well. He tries to get down to the first down marker at the 5-yard line. It'll be a gain of 9 to the 6. 3rd and 1 coming up. Great run by Anderson with under 4 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah, great play by Anderson. And again, the respect and the fact that Jim Collins still really depending on his power football game. This is a situation 3rd and short. This has been a tough position for Wittenberg all day.
Brown has Anderson to his left. And he hands it to him. He gets hit in the backfield. Anderson's going to lose a yard. And, boy, the Tigers up front got beat again. This time it was Clay Denstroff who came busting through the heart of that Tiger O-line. And he was in the backfield essentially as soon as Anderson got the handoff. So now it's 4th and 2. Tigers could kick a field goal and get within 8, but Jim Collins says we're going to play for it.
Which makes a lot of sense because of the possession battle, right? You know you're not going to get many more opportunities. You want to win this game. Interesting thing again, though, is do you trust? Oh, and we have to burn a timeout.
Yeah, now timeout Wittenberg, and it is a product of 2 things. We are so used to the Tigers doing things in an effective and an efficient manner. And I'm talking about this year's team, that it becomes as such a shock to see red zone penalties, personnel issues, a mistake on defense that allows a quarterback to run for 80 yards. Those little things are adding up. Now, the Tigers can still pull themselves out of the fire and get a big win today, but it's been a struggle so far.
No, absolutely. And you look at it right now. Do you trust your junior quarterback to make a play with the ball in his hands is the big thing at the moment. Right now, Denison is putting 9 players up against your 5 offensive linemen and saying, try to run the football. Try it, because we have more numbers. Yes, Bryce Anderson, Garrett Gross, and Reed Hall can make a move, but try it. Do you have the faith in Colin to make a play? And in a game like this where he has been struggling, you have to show that confidence in your signal caller. Because if you don't, and if we can't convert here on a 4th and 2, that just shows that today we were just completely out of rhythm.
Well, and I think this is very important offensively. This is where I think you almost have to roll out Colin Brown. Maybe look for a short pass, a wheel route, something where you can get the ball to someone. It becomes him or his receiver in the neighborhood.
4th and 2. Brown pulls it back, keeps it, throws towards the end zone. It's broken up. Trying to get it just inside the pylon on the right side. It was Anthony Rooney, the defensive back, who reached up with that left hand and swatted it away. And the Tigers will turn over on downs at the 7-yard line. Pretty good drive for Colin Brown and the Tigers, mostly again through the ground game, but as has been the theme today, they're unable to get in the end zone for 6.
And again, they were ready on the outside. They looked for the fade. Denison did a nice job on it. You almost wanted a quick play, maybe a slant, maybe a quick play like they'd done before, throwing it out in space with 3 guys out there and maybe let that guy make a play. But again, the defensive front four for Denison got through again and made it hard on Colin in a very tough pass.
Denison gets the ball back with a long way to go, but the Tigers' defense almost has to have a stop on this possession. Dawkins will work from the shotgun. It'll be receivers wide to each side. He's going to turn and hand it off. Fabricini straight ahead across the 10. Taken down at the 11. And for the Tigers, Grant Hollinger was on the stop.
We talk about Trey Fabricini, again, the outstanding running back for Denison. He is 5'11", and he is so physical. He just looks so big, even though he's such a little guy, and he really has some strength.
Give to Fabricini again. Tigers front 4 with a nice job of bottling him up, and they will tackle him, I believe, for a loss of a yard. Give Hollinger some credit in there again. We also saw Render in there, Matt Render.
The absolutely amazing thing to me about how offensive statistics can be misleading, Fabricini in this run game for Denison has not been effective as much as the Tigers have. However, you can honestly say that they are in a better offensive rhythm than the Tigers are because both of their passing and run game are efficient when they have to be.
Dawkins will let it fly, and he's got a man near the first down marker. The catch is made. I think that was the tight end, Mac Marston. Yep, it was Marston. So he goes to the big target, and Denison will move the sticks. Oh, you feel like you let him off the hook a little bit there if you're the Wittenberg defense to put him in a 3rd down situation like that. But Dawkins has played well today, and the Denison offense has done that all day long. They're now 5 of 9 on 3rd down.
They are, and 3rd down conversions have been critical, and they seem to call the right play, and it is a balance, and we've talked about it. I almost think, Sam, we've talked about this, is I think we're going to have to change some things in the defensive backfield as far as maybe coming up and really putting pressure, man-to-man pressure, something, to get a change here, because on those 3rd down conversions, we're giving them so much room.
Yeah.
And you just really, at some point, there becomes a breaking point where you've got to make some plays, and you've got to force this on this Denison offense.
2nd down, 8 to go from the 21. Tigers moved up front but got back out of the neutral zone. Rolling right. Dawkins will dump it off. Fabricini caught it near the 24, and they're going to mark him at the 25 with a little bit of progress there. He's still almost 5 yards short of the marker, so stop me if you've heard this before, but Denison is faced with a big third down, and the Tigers defense needs a stop.
Press. Go up, make a play, press. When you're going to come out of the quarter, they're going to want – but what's the difference between a 17-point loss and a 28-point loss?
Right.
At a certain point, right? You got to make a play.
Got to take a chance.
Defensively, this is not on you today, right? You have kept the Denison offense, who is very efficient. Dawkins came in 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
No doubt.
He is efficient. Obviously, Fabricini, one of the best running backs in the country in Division III, really all of football if you look at his numbers. This defense has done their job, but sometimes, as Scott mentioned earlier, it's a team game. And sometimes when one phase is struggling, you need that other phase to step up. The defense just has to make some sort of play, whether it be up front with a Mike Knock or Connor Wall sack, whether it be a play in the secondary. Cam Schnurr has been awfully quiet today, and he's your senior captain. Make a play in that middle linebacker position, but something's got to break.
It's a Denison team, Coach Scobie, that is scoring 38 points per game. Today, the Tigers have held them to 14 going into the fourth quarter. The Tigers defense is going to need a few more big stops here, and then the offense is going to have to figure out their path.
Well, and I think you make a good point, Scott. Let's be fair. For the lack of offense and all of the mistakes that we've made, this Denison defense has played extremely well. The last few games, they have given up a ton of yards. So the game plan, the fact that they're playing hard, that's been a difference too.
I mean, maybe that's some of what's happening here today, because this Denison defense, I mean, let's be honest about it, has been bad. They've given up 41 and 38 points the last 2 weeks against Ohio Wesleyan and Hiram. No. So today, that's not the same Denison defense we're watching today.
Absolutely, and you look at, I mean, these are college athletes. They're proud. They are here for a reason.
Dawkins is going to keep it on third down. Nobody was open. He needed 4 yards, and I don't think he got it. He lunged forward at the 28. He needed at least the 29, maybe even just past the 29. So at least from here, it looks like he's a half yard short. Now we'll see what kind of a spot he gets. And they may even bring out the chains and measure, which nobody does anymore.
He's going to be short. The question's going to be...
There is a question here.
Do you go for it? With the way the Wittenberg offense is moving the ball, do you just punt it and pin it deep? But if you get a first down right, I agree.
You have to punt it.
In the new age, I mean, we have some people in football.
He is a half yard short, maybe even a little more than a half a yard, so I don't think there's any question. Denison's going to kick it, and the Tiger offense in the fourth quarter is going to have to make some plays. They have totaled only 224 yards, which for this offense is obviously below average. Only 3 passing first downs today. And so here you are, still in the game, down by 11, but about to get the ball back in a crucial stretch.
Yeah, and I that's a common idea that they're going to punt it away. I mean, that just makes total sense. But you also have Trey Fabricini, the greatest running back, right now in the NCAC.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you need a yard, he's at the top of the list.
You got Dawkins, who's flipping 20, 12 out of whatever.
12 or 13.
12, 13. I mean, everything has gone right, and they only need like 4 inches.
Yeah.
It would be hard not to try.
Not for me. I'm punting.
Well, and also it's time of possession at this point, right? You're thinking that Wittenberg can't move the ball through the air, so they're going to have to run it down to the end zone. Maybe you get the ball back with 7 minutes left and then try and ice the game out with your run game. So it is an interesting back and forth at the moment.
And Daniel Cunningham delivers his best punt of the day. And it's going to roll inside the 5 and then get picked up at the 4-yard line by Tyler May. He's going to be taken down at the 12. I actually don't fault Tyler for fielding that ball because there was a Denison gunner down there that could have downed it inside the 5, and I think he would have. So May, recognizing that, saves a little bit of real estate by returning it out to the 12. But this is a long field now for this Tigers offense. The Tigers have put together, I want to say 3 pretty decent drives today, but you only have 3 points from those 3 drives. That's the part that's got to change.
Red zone efficiency, third down efficiency, turnovers. Name of football. Always will be.
You're right, guys. And last week we have to look at that this Denison defense gave up like 3 touchdowns late in the game. So
yeah, it's true.
It's a team that can falter, and if the pressure is applied, we haven't seen them under a whole lot of pressure today, especially late. So this fourth quarter is everything, and this is the difference between being a champion and winning the league and not. So it's a lot of pressure. But Wittenberg with a score here, if they can go down and get this thing done, that sets them up big. But that's a long way to go.
Garrett Gross on the first down carry gets 3 yards. Well, and this has been one of those games too where if the Tigers were to break a big play, it would feel like it's changed the whole complexion of the game. Here's a pass that's going to be dropped right off the hands of the Tiger receiver. That was Gene Nobles, who had found himself open near the 25-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 7. So Colin Brown made that throw, but they don't get the reception.
Even Colin would say that was a weird ball, though, right? As a receiver, you're so used to catching a tight spiral, and then it comes out wobbly. And Gene has to catch that ball. There's no question about that as a fifth-year senior.
It did wobble, you're right.
But it's just that little bit of difference making all the difference, right? That little bit of your quarterback, who's usually so on, is a little bit off, impacts the entire offense.
Brown will fire. Good ball there. Caught at the 28. That's a first down. Getting to the sideline, Drew Sterrett hauls it in. So the Tigers pick up 13 and move the sticks. That's a very good sign for the guys in red. We've got 13:25 to play in the game. Down 14-3. Denison had to kick a 40-yard field goal on the final play last week to beat Hiram 41-38. And here they are leading Wittenberg on the road by 11. Handoff to Garrett Gross. Carries to the 30, and he'll fight his way to the 31. The week before that, Denison was shelled by Ohio Wesleyan 41-7. But they have the lead here today, trying to give the Tigers their second conference loss. Garrett Gross will come to the near sideline, replaced by Reed Hall in the backfield. Denison has won the last 2 games in this series. I don't know that they've ever won 3 in a row. We'd have to go back and look. Rolling right, Brown will fire out of bounds. Intended technically for Gene Nobles, but Brown's just trying to get rid of it because pressure was coming. This is the 83rd Wittenberg-Denison game, and Wittenberg had gone through a stretch where they won 22 straight. Since then, Denison's won 3 of 5, including the last 2 get-togethers. And so here we are today, the guys from Granville holding a fourth quarter lead. Trips to the right, 1 receiver left. 3rd and 7. Tigers are only 4 of 10 on 3rd down today. And here's Brown stepping up, and he's going to simply run out of places to go. Tried to escape out of the pocket to the right side. He ended up running right into one of the Denison defensive linemen. That was Sam Seacrest. So Brown has to give himself up at the 25-yard line. And it's a loss of 6 on the sack. Here comes the punt team on 4th and 13.
And that was a coverage sack. Again, the fact that the defense, the defensive back safeties for Denison have done just a great job covering up, and they applied the pressure again, and that's a frustrating one now because time is we're down to 12 minutes. You needed that, and now a shank.
Yeah, bad punt here off the outside of Connor Ingram's right foot. And going into that wind, by the way, which plays a factor, the wind has picked up seemingly as the game has gone on. And he was kicking into a pretty decent breeze coming out of the south end zone. That kick goes out of bounds at the 38-yard line. 39 is where they'll mark it. So here comes Denison with a chance. With 11:58 to go, still a lot of football to be played, but possibly a chance to put it away with 6.
It's such an interesting vibe right now to this offense because you've run the ball well.
Yeah.
We say that every game, right?
Yeah.
If you control the line of scrimmage, that you'll run. And it feels like we haven't accomplished anything offensively, even with our great sack.
Yeah, that was a big one. Tigers needed that as they get to Dawkins. Matt Render brings him down back at the 48. That's a loss of 9 yards. Football is such a funny game because, we're talking about how Denison defensively has struggled the last couple of weeks. Wittenberg's lone conference loss came against Wabash, and if you watch that game, you would say the Tiger offense played great. They kind of lost a shootout. The defense was the group that couldn't get the job done that day. Well, now here we are. Tigers' defense has played well. The offense has scuffled. And special teams has done a little bit of both, to be honest, good and bad. Here's a handoff, and Fabricini will get to the 43, and a very late flag comes in. Stop was made by Tony Colavini. Denison sideline was reacting like this flag is against the Tigers. It is. Personal foul. I think they said grasping to pull off the helmet. Was that the explanation?
Never heard that before. Maybe it was a face mask call, but I heard the same thing that you did, grasping to, it seemed like he was brought down clean, and then maybe there was a little extracurricular, but in a situation like that, after a sack, that puts you on a 2nd and 19 to give them a free first down
automatic
and
first
15
down,
yards.
all the way to the 28. We're going to go under 11 minutes left to play in this game. Denison, 256 yards of offense. Wittenberg, 237. Wittenberg has more first downs than Denison does, 13-12. Dawkins will take off and run out of bounds. Drew Dawkins has the biggest play of the day. It was an 80-yard quarterback keeper for a Denison touchdown to put him up by 11, and that's where we stand right now.
We've talked about it, and it was talked about during the Wabash game, the importance of winning at home. Right? You want to energize the community, and the best way to do that is win in front of your home crowd. A game like this is one that you can't have, where you come out and it just seems like you're outmatched for some reason, and you can't really figure out the reason, especially when you've been putting together such a consistent product all year.
Dawkins down the middle, has a man wide open, caught it, touchdown. It was Billy Guzzo who was in between two Tiger defenders, and it's a 23-yard TD strike for the Denison Big Red, and they now lead 20-3 with 10:22 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and again, Drew Dawkins threw a pinpoint pass on the slant going into the end zone, and that's a real tough play no matter what, and he's just made plays all day. The fifth-year senior, Drew Dawkins, having a tremendous game.
Extra point is up, and it is through. And so that was what we just talked about. Denison had a chance maybe to put the dagger in, and they do hit on a 23-yard TD strike. That'll be a 4-play, 39-yard drive. Took 1 minute and 36 seconds. And so Wittenberg has a steep mountain to climb now here in front of their home crowd, trying to avoid a third loss on the year. Second in conference play.
Something wild to me is that I was just thinking about Drew Dawkins. I don't know if he started his freshman year. Dawkins is going to finish his career without ever losing to Wittenberg. Every current fourth-year senior on Denison's team has never lost to Wittenberg, and there's no player currently on this Wittenberg team that was a major contributor the last time we played Denison and won.
When Jack Hayden started to really get this Denison program going, the Tigers played a couple of classic games against them, and it was during that stretch where Wittenberg went from beating them easily to barely beating them to then Denison, finally knocking the Tigers off in a game. It's really been, interesting, and I think Coach Hayden and his staff and the Denison football program deserve a ton of credit for what they've done over that time. And the team that we're watching today doesn't look like the team that I watched on the replay when they barely beat Hiram, or the team that got handled by Ohio Wesleyan. But there's no doubt that the Big Red were amped up and ready to play today. This Wittenberg game has become a big game on their calendar. They lost a heartbreaker against Wabash, a game that, frankly, I think they did everything they could have and should have to win that game. And they are making up for it today by playing extremely well in Springfield against a top-tier NCAC program, a perennial power in this conference for a long, long time. Here's a pass from Brown that gets swatted at the line of scrimmage. That was Vince Olesko, the defensive lineman, who batted it high in the air.
Yeah, and Scott, you brought up the fact that it's really been 5 years that have gone on. I mean,
3 of the last 5 they've won, yeah.
Yeah, but one of those years was that 62-60 overtime, 4 overtime games.
60, it was, I was just looking that up. 2018, it was 68-66 was the final over at Denison.
But again, I mean, that game could have gone their way. So it's clear that this has become a game that they have circled. And they're very confident, and they've shown it today.
Jake Souse makes the catch, goes out of bounds at the 37. First down, Tigers. Yeah, that first Denison win of recent history was in 2016, 24-21. I think that was a night game over in Granville. Rolling is Brown being pressured, and he'll dump it off to Anderson. And he'll get banged out of bounds to the 45. Give the Denison front 4 credit, too, because they have really been able to harass Brown today. And we talked about how Collins missed on some opportunities, but he's also been running back there quite a bit.
And he's not comfortable. He doesn't look comfortable. His eyes are going down to the line of scrimmage almost immediately after the ball is snapped because he has to worry about evading those pass rushers on those twists or those edge pressures from the outside linebackers. And when you're a quarterback and your mind isn't strictly on being in system and working on the play call, that's where mistakes happen like we've seen today.
Brown will throw down the middle. Souse has it inside Denison territory at the 40, and he'll be spun to the ground near the 34. That's going to be a 21-yard pitching catch. Tigers are in business here by opening the playbook up a little bit.
Well, I think Jake Souse, again, he's been the go-to guy today, and he continues to be a guy that gets open. And right now you think you need to go to Jake Souse. You need to go to Reed Hall because he has that home run ability. And we saw it in the last game against Oberlin, maybe one of those screen passes to Reed Hall to take it to the distance. But we need players like that to make plays.
Brown's going to fire it down the sideline, and it's caught, but out of bounds goes Drew Sterrett, trying to get a foot down shy of the pylon. He would have been about the 2, maybe the 1-yard line. But you like the fact the Tigers are looking for that deep ball here.
Yeah, they're opening it up. But, again, just, Denison was all over Connor Brown. I mean, it was about to fold on him, but he was able to stay in there. And certainly Denison at this point with the lead, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at him. So this line's going to have to hold him, and they're going to have to make some maybe 10 to 15-yard passes if they do.
Here is Garrett Gross on the carry from the 34 down to the 31. The first meeting, we talk about the rivalries in the Tiger program. Ohio Wesleyan, the Tigers have played more frequently, but other than that, I mean, I don't know that the Tigers have had a more frequently played or longer standing rival than against Ohio Wesleyan. The Ohio Wesleyan series started in the late 1800s. These two started playing in 1901, Coach Scobie's sophomore year.
Actually, junior.
Oh, I'm sorry. It'll be 3rd and 6. Here's a deep ball for Souse. It's incomplete. Pretty good coverage there by Downey, staying with Souse, who was trying to get a little bit of distance, a little bit of separation headed towards the end zone. It'll be 4th and 6 from the 31.
There's something in football where an offense feels offended when a corner tries to press cover you off the line of scrimmage. And the funny thing about offense is we believe that the defense doesn't know it. The defenders know that when you press up, they are expecting you to audible to something deep. And it's actually a great mind game within the game type situation. Great coverage right there from that cornerback.
4th and 6 from the 31 from the shotgun Brown. Rolls right, throws, back shoulder for May, who can't get back to it. Ball was underthrown because Brown was being harassed again. And so the Tigers put together a drive that gets into Denison territory, and it flutters out from there. Denison takes over, 8:15 to go in the game.
You send more than you can block. You have to be able to win one-on-one coverage and replace the people that are blitzing. Right there, good job, honestly, I thought, from, I think it was Bryce Anderson picking up that blitzer from the A-gap. Obviously, you don't want it coming from the A-gap. You'd rather the blitz pressure come from the outside. That way it's not directly in the face of your quarterback. But Colin did a good job being able to escape and then just no one open.
21-3 Denison. Midway through the fourth quarter, Big Red making a statement today. Handoff, Fabricini gets hit near the line of scrimmage, puts up a fight and does fall forward for a yard. Render was the guy that stopped him. That'll be 2nd down and 9.
Tackle by number 97, Grant Hollinger.
Grant Hollinger also in on the tackle there for the Tigers. Wittenberg back here at home in 2 weeks to take on Ohio Wesleyan, who has been no slouch this year. We talked about how they handled Denison a couple of weeks ago. Second down and 9 from the 32. Here's a give on the end around. That's going to be the tight end on the carry. John Adamson out to the 40. It's an 8-yard pickup.
They've ran that play a couple times, and it's been successful for them. Both times big gains.
Tackle by number 40, Matt Render.
And again, this offense of Denison has mixed it up pretty well, running and passing. Of course, we mentioned Haskins. He's 13 of 14 for 131 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Tigers had 372 yards rushing last week against Oberlin. Averaged 6.6 yards per carry. Rolling right, Dawkins flagged down, dumps it off. Catch is made by Adamson, and he's going to be into Tiger territory at the 48. It's a gain of 12 and a first down, but let's see what the flag is about.
Tackled by number 1, Anthony Pedro.
Got an illegal formation. Didn't have enough on the line. After the win against DePaul 2 weeks ago on the road, and then they came back home, the Tigers did and handled Oberlin. I mean, Sam, you and I were talking about how, we felt like this team was playing its best football coming into today.
That's exactly what you want, too. You want to be catching your stride for these big games, for the final stretch. I was able to talk to Jim Collins yesterday at Meet the Team night and Bryce Anderson. They felt fantastic, and that's what I mean when you come into a game at home and you get punched in the mouth. I think the Tigers were flying so high and feeling so good about their offensive game plans that they maybe didn't have that second thing to go to. And we saw that today. When the running game, but you can't even say the running game wasn't efficient today. That's the weird part, is we were able to get the running game going. It just seemed like offensively out of rhythm. And when you're offensively out of rhythm, and the defense did a great job hanging in for most of the game, just an off game.
37 rushes, 182 yards on the ground, Sam. So the Tigers averaged 5 yards a carry, 4.9.
One thing that I did notice was there weren't many under center snaps.
Not many under center snaps, and then obviously the inability to finish drives, the biggest thing. Dawkins rolling left, and he's going to throw it. Ball got tipped. It'll fall incomplete. 4th and 6, and Denison will punt it with 6:13 remaining.
That actually is very interesting now that I just think about it, that we haven't gone under center for a team that goes under center, because we've done a lot of the play action passes that we usually do. However, the action is usually being done in the backfield, which doesn't sell it as much. So, Coach, you mentioned it on the red zone play actions where the linebacker's still able to fly out with those flats and fades and things like that. You have to wonder, because most of the time when we're in the red zone, we do go under center. It's an interesting thing to keep your eye on as to why possibly that was.
Punter dropped the ball. Cunningham picks it up, does get the kick away somehow, and it's actually a good punt. Tyler May will catch it at the 25 and be tackled out of bounds at the 29. They'll mark him at the 30. Boy, Cunningham had the snap, hit him in the hands. He dropped it to the turf, And he picked it up and initially looked like he might take off with it, but was able to get enough space to kick it and turns it into a pretty decent kick. It'll go for 35 yards.
Yeah, and it looked like it'd be a turnover, basically you'd get sacked back there. And
yeah, 40-yard punt, 5-yard return. So a net of 35. But so it didn't turn out to be a disaster for Denison at all.
Not at all.
4-receiver look. Brown fires. It's going to be caught near the 35 and taken down at the 39-yard line is Troy Teepee, Tiger tight end.
That time Denison in his zone coverage, and you're probably going to see that from now on. They're going to let Wittenberg run clock. They're going to give him pretty much everything in front of them right now.
Yep. Tigers have to be in hurry-up mode, knowing they're down 3 possessions. Hits Drew Sterrett, does Brown, and that'll move the sticks to the Denison 48. Denison jumped, but they get back in time before the snap. Brown rolling right. He will throw to the 40-yard line. Catch is made. Out of bounds right there is Tyler May. Pickup of 8 yards. 5:20 remaining.
And, Coach, you're so right, actually. Defense drops into basically a prevent, keeping everything in front of them. That way the Tigers have to go the long way and can't get anything quick, cheap.
Here is Anderson on the carry. He's going to get to the 25. Bryce Anderson. Tigers move the sticks again. We'll go under 5 minutes left.
Great call for a screen pass there.
Screens it out to Bryce, and he picks up the first down.
Yeah, just did a smart play. Good coaching there to see that they were trying to come after Colin. He gets away with it, gets a short pass, and that's similar to the one last week when Reed Hall went the distance.
They'll dump it off.
Get out
Garrett
of bounds.
Gross carries to the 15 after the yards after catch. Gets him down to the 14, 10 yards total. First down Tigers. 4:40 to go. If you're able to get 7 here, still a 2-score game. Tigers have only 2 timeouts left. They've had to use 1. You're probably still looking at needing an onside kick, even with this much time left. Here's a lob up over the top. It'll be caught by Sterrett. Touchdown, Tigers. So Colin Brown hits Drew Sterrett a few yards deep in the end zone. 15-yard touchdown strike. And for the first time today, Wittenberg finds the end zone. And it comes with 4:25 left to play.
Yeah, just a nice fade over the right corner. And crazy things happen in football, guys. If we get it to 10 and then have maybe an onside kick and get it, who knows? I mean, a lot of things can happen in 4 minutes and 25 seconds. The one thing is if Denison gets his football and they're allowed to run it, they're going to try to run clock off.
Yeah.
So you really need the ball. You got to have it.
PAT is good. So with 2 timeouts, my guess is they'll kick it away here. And then if you're able to get a stop and a score, you're going to need an onside kick after that. A lot of pushing and shoving after the extra point. We've seen this on a few different plays with the Tigers and Big Red getting a little bit chippy here in the late stages.
Denison thinks they own us at this moment. They really do. They come in expecting to win these games. They come out trying to bully the Tigers, and they've done it now 2 straight times here in Springfield. As I mentioned earlier, they beat us when they opened the steamer, and then they seemingly are they've manhandled us throughout the majority of the game. The interesting thing right now, I have to commend Drew Sterrett again. He's a big body, used to be a quarterback, so he's also super smart and knows the game to the point where he was able to actually get an outside release on a fade, knowing that Colin Brown was still going to back shoulder it, which was so impressive because he was already turning his body with that throw in the air. So very impressive.
And you guys woulda, coulda, shoulda, but this is the kind of offense throwing the football on that drive. And I know they were in a zone coverage, but that's kind of what we expected all day. And that, got the crowd finally into it a little bit. So, just a tremendous job. As you said, Sterrett, he seems to be the guy that makes plays and scores touchdowns.
Last
that wide
time,
receiver.
Here they do onside kick it here. And it does come off the Denison player. But it didn't bound too far away from him. Both teams pointing in their respective directions, and it's going to be Denison ball. So it is onside kick time with still over 4 minutes to go. But the Big Red will have it in Wittenberg territory. So the last conference team to beat the Tigers 3 straight would have been Wabash, 0-2 and 0-3, which is a little bit deceiving because Wabash beat Wittenberg twice in 2002, once in the regular season, and then they met in the playoffs.
Football at the 46-yard line.
Dawkins will work from the shotgun. They'll hand it off to Fabricini running left. He's going to get down to the 40-yard line. That's a gain of 6. Tigers have to figure out how they want to use their last 2 timeouts.
Tackled by number 33, Pamber.
Denison beat the Tigers here in 2019. That was Wittenberg's homecoming, 24-14. No season in 2020, and then last year it was 21-16 at Denison.
This is, again, late in the game where you need to knock the ball out. You need to make a play somehow defensively. They're not going to put it in the air.
Here is a give for Billy Guzzo, and he needed to get to the 36 for a first down. He's done it. First down, Denison, 3.5 to go.
We've seen that play call before where they send that slot man in motion and use Fabricini as a lead blocker on the outside because you have to commit so much help into the interior because that's where Fabricini likes to run. So, again, smart heads-up play call there from the Denison offensive coaching staff.
Yeah, and Billy Guzzo, he's been a receiver. He's had 3 catches today for 33 yards and a touchdown.
So Dawkins will keep a close watch on the play clock. Run it down before they snap it. Hand it off. Fabricini up the middle. He's going to go for 6. 35 yards. The touchdown run. Trey Fabricini, the junior running back, and Tigers defense looked tired there.
That's what That's what happens when you have a running back like Fabricini, and all it takes is one. That's all it takes when you have a great running back. Give him one open lane. The Tigers this whole day have really been able to contain him very well. Honestly, it's been the quarterback that's been giving them the most trouble in the running game. But when you have a player of such immense talent as Fabricini, in the fourth quarter, you're tired defensively.
PAT is good. It's 28-10 Denison with 2:55 left. So a Denison win here today knocks the Tigers out of the top spot in the conference. So you have DePaul, Wabash, and Ohio Wesleyan, each with 1 loss apiece. Remember, Wittenberg has played an extra league game because Week 10 is the Tigers' other non-conference game. It's against Hilbert College, first-year program, filling the void that was created by Allegheny, leaving the NCAC. So DePaul is at Ohio Wesleyan today. That's the other matchup between top teams. And then Wabash playing winless Oberlin today. But it feels like, in terms of Wittenberg's perspective on things, this is a devastating blow, especially after you lose against Wabash, but then you bounce back and go to DePaul and win convincingly. This one will sting for a while for the Tigers, at least till next Saturday when they have to get back at it and try and get a road win.
My freshman year, when we were doing all of our workouts, when we were doing all of our meetings, it was centered around the number 28. And that was because the previous year, Wabash had beat us, and they had scored 28 points. And everything around that offseason was centered around Wabash. Soon enough, the Tigers are going to have to take this game as their personal game. This is the game that they have to circle on their calendar because right now Denison has a psychological edge over this team, and I don't know if the Tigers come into these games expecting to win like they should.
Brown will fling it near the sideline. It's caught by Reed Hall. So, at DePaul, they lost a couple QBs today. Nathan McCahill is quarterbacking for DePaul. At Ohio Wesleyan, it's 19-0 Bishops as they go to the locker room at halftime. So Ohio Wesleyan jumping all over DePaul. So if that score holds up, you'd have Wabash and Ohio Wesleyan tied atop the standings. So it's an unusual year in a lot of ways around the NCAC.
Well, and I think Sam brings up a great point. You know, I remember I played college basketball, and I remember playing certain teams that weren't supposed to be on the floor with us. But over a couple years, they developed that mentality that they mentally played better than us. And you have to grind that out, and you've got to make sure that you have to change it. And it only happens by, you know, like you said, Sam, putting focus on this game, making it important, finding a way to make big plays in the game and get a victory, and then another one, and then another one. Then you wipe out that whole mentality.
Yeah.
And that's really tough to do, especially when a team has that mentality over you.
I'll dump it off here for Reed Hall. Well, how many times have we heard Tigers coaches say, you know, when you play at Wittenberg, you get everybody's best shot,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You know, the opposing teams know about the history here. They see the trophy case. They see the banners. They know what the Tiger programs have done historically. And so you get everybody's best shot on a week-to-week basis, and Denison has no doubt taken advantage of that, and they've been up and have played well against the Tigers here in recent history. Here's a ball that's going to be off the fingertips of Sterrett down the sideline with 1:57 left to play. 28-10 Denison. It'll be 2nd down and 10 Tigers from their own 47. They're late in the second quarter in Crawfordsville. Wabash, or actually at Oberlin. This is a game at Oberlin. Wabash leads Oberlin 42-14.
Wow. And again, we talk about it, Scott, but you go back to many years ago when we started this whole endeavor of broadcasting. Allegheny was that team. Allegheny was a team you just had trouble with, and they kind of owned you. A great catch there.
Yep. Tigers, I mean, came into this conference when Allegheny had just won the 1990 national championship. Tigers had come in the year prior. Allegheny wins the title. And then over the next 5-6 years, Wittenberg was working its way to being at Allegheny's level, then overtaking them and being the dominant force in the conference. Then Wabash joins at the beginning of the new millennium, and we know the history there. Here's a pass that's incomplete. There is a flag down back near the line of scrimmage. It's a hold on the Tigers. Troy Teepee was the intended receiver. And so now you kind of see the situation where there's been a little bit of a reset post-pandemic where DePaul makes a playoff appearance last year. Ohio Wesleyan seems to have a very good squad this year. Denison has put themselves over the last handful of years in the mix at the top of the standings. So it becomes a little bit harder on any given Saturday to be able to sharpie in who you think's going to win.
Well, absolutely, and we even looked at it last week, right? We said Oberlin, you can't take anyone lightly. But it is so important to realize that after today's loss, no one on this Wittenberg roster, once these fifth years graduate, has beaten Denison.
Yeah,
and no one on Denison has ever lost to Wittenberg. So it sets a tone. It sets a new standard for your team. If you're Denison, you're being like, no, we are coming in every year expecting to beat Wittenberg.
And I think your point is well taken, Sam, about making sure you circle this game. During those years, Scott, we remember that Allegheny, we actually got to the point where it was Gator Week.
Yeah.
And then I think we saw that against Wabash.
Yeah.
When they first came in, that became the game. And this is going to be one of those that I think you might see this rivalry get really, really exciting.
I'll double check it, but I don't think since the Tigers joined the NCAC in '89 that there's been a league opponent that an entire class went their entire Wittenberg career without beating. I don't think it's happened.
And obviously the COVID year is different. We didn't play them.
That's true.
This class
so it makes
junior year.
A little bit different.
But the psychological edge, football has a lot of psychology in it too, right? The ability to impose your will on somebody else. So right now, psychologically, Denison has the advantage.
3rd down and 13. Dump it off for Reed Hall. He's going to get to the 40, but still almost 7 yards shy. We're in the final minute. 28-10, Denison. Jack Hatem's squad going on the road, and they're going to score a huge win that maybe keeps them in the mix for the conference title. Like I said, if Ohio Wesleyan goes on to beat DePaul, and they're up by 19 at half, you only have 2 teams with 1 loss. And, of course, Wittenberg still plays one of them, Ohio Wesleyan. Here's a deep ball down the middle. It's going to be incomplete on 4th down and 6. Was looking for Tyler May, and that's going to do it. Denison will take over on downs with 21 seconds to go. And so Drew Dawkins and the Big Red coming off of a weird stretch where they were hammered by Ohio Wesleyan 41-7, followed by a scare against Hiram. They had to kick a 40-yard field goal on the final play to beat the Terriers last week, 41-38. Coming off of that stretch, Denison comes here to Springfield, and they get the job done in a pretty dominating fashion. Statistically, fairly even. The Tigers did move the ball. They had drives where they were in Denison territory. They were in the red zone. Only scored 10 points today, and that'll do it as the Big Red go to their victory formation and take a knee. And it's a 28-10 final. Coach Scobie, Sam, always a pleasure. I will see you guys in 2 weeks when we're right back here for the next Tiger home game.
Can't wait.
Looking forward to it.
28-10, Denison defeats Wittenberg here on the Tiger Sports Network.
Wittenberg 10.